But there was a time where I was saying, hey, look, this Facebook is trying to make me feel bad, right? Like that's the things that it's showing me is a special combination of make me feel bad. It's giving me those endorphins. So you have this giant stockpile of endorphin-related clicks that all tell the story of what makes a person feel good.
But in your space, do you find that more people are getting fearful of this kind of technology and this kind of thing that's happening to humans?
It absolutely will never, ever happen that data is protected and private on the internet because the amount of money is insane. Parts of two guys, he walks up to me, he goes, hey, buddy. And I said, Tyrone Biggin said, hey, Joe Rogan, right? So immediately he knows, right?
Hey, what's going on today, guys? And thanks for checking out this episode of the SaltyFresh Perspective podcast. My guest today is the founding president of Chess Club Media. He's worked on shows like American Idol and for artists like Kanye West. And all around, just a cool guy to get to have a conversation with. Please give it up for Mikel Jorgensen.
So it has paid off.
Oh, well, good. Well,
Thank you for asking.
We're good, man. We're rolling. I figured I'd start with that. Which way? Because I think when I first met you, we were at the Chamber of Commerce, and you were giving a speech, and I think they said Michael. I don't remember. That was like 10 years ago, I think. So I'll roll a quick intro here, man, and then we'll get right into it. So sitting here with Mikel Jorgensen from Chess Club Media, right? Chess Club Media. So for people that don't know what it is, what is Chess Club Media? And you've been doing that, you said, 10 years now, right? 10 years?
Yeah, 10 years on the day. So Chess Club Media is my consulting company. So I started off as an SEO company, right? And then have kind of shifted, which, I'll explain a little bit. But I was in I had just moved home from Los Angeles. And I'd called this A&R, record guy, and I said, hey, man, I used to work with you in L.A., I'm on my own now. Like, can I get a deal or whatever? He's like, it's your lucky day. If you can come over here, if you can make it to my house in an hour. So this guy was, he's the A&R for Shinedown and Paramore, and I think another band along those lines. And I got there, and he's like, Michael, he's like, you got everything going that you need? He's like, but you need an LLC and a production agreement. He's like, what's the name of your business? Right? And so the whole live stream had come to a head like in a movie. Yeah. And I was like, Chess Club. He's like, that's pretty cool. Chess Club. I like that. I like that. Right?
Were you in a chess club or play
chess?
chess? No, okay.
No, I just thought it was cool. I just thought it had a cool sound.
Cool.
And so anyway, so I'd rushed home and, went to start the business. And I'm like, I type in on the LLC thing, Chess Club. And I'm like, media, right? And I'm like, oh. So then the thing about the media is that, to be real open about it, for the first few years, I felt really insecure about media, right? Because I'd look and I'd see like, oh, well, this newspaper company and their newspaper website, that's a media company, or this. My dog.
Oh, he's fine, man.
It's all good.
First dog on the show. There you go.
Right
Yeah, nice.
But no, it was a lot of insecurity because, the media company then traditionally is like you are on a TV station or network of channels, right?
Right.
But as, what I started the business as with SEO, search engine optimization. So the way that, websites come up on Google or not, that started relying more and more upon other types of media, right? So, social media started having a kind of an impact on your rankings, and all these other things started having an impact to where we're basically producing media for other companies that just so happens to have a kind of digital benefit or a sales funnel bridge, right? And then the neat thing about it, I think, is that I'm lucky to where I remember when they had at Radio Shack the first desktop computers on sale with, was it Encarta? The first encyclopedia that you could have at home.
Oh, right
had
there.
Videos on it.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But I actually grew up with, the encyclopedias are cool.
Yeah.
Those are really neat. Smell and everything.
The actual encyclopedia set, like the books, Yeah,
so I'm lucky enough to have had that, right? That's like an internet on a shelf.
Sure.
Right?
Old school internet on
with
a
the
shelf.
gold pages, the gold trim on the pages, and then the graphics that you could just dive into. The little, it's like the internet just on the shelf, right? And so kind of, I remember when the computer was so expensive, right? And I remember when only a couple people had online,
Right.
right? I went to my friend Adam's house, and I used to pay him. He would charge me for printing for the ink to print Beavis and Butthead pictures off the internet. I'd pay like $1 a piece, right? Now I have unlimited Beavis and Butthead pictures. But no, I remember like we would sit there and we were like, oh, I wonder if this website is going to cost us money to be on here, and hear the burr on the dial up, right?
Yeah.
But then at that time, like, he would show me like a message board, a live message board or an image board that's getting updated with conversation. Not like a live chat, but you post, I post, a post, and it stacks up.
Kind of like an early blog type
Well, I mean,
thing,
that's how
or?
like, dare I say 4chan is now, and different sites like that, even Reddit is
Right.
almost exactly like that. And this
Right.
is when I'm, 10, 11, 12, right? And that technology, so being exposed to the way that the information moves in that way and just the tech, and then like AOL chat, remember everyone had,
Yeah.
and then ICQ, and then when I was at USF was kind of the times of the hot or not website where you'd say this person looks good or bad. It's just a face, which is kind of almost Tinder and Facebook mixed together,
Sure.
right? And I remember, my girlfriend saying, you have to get a Facebook. Why don't you have a Facebook? I'm like, what is Facebook? Right. And this was after the MySpace. Right. But, during this period of time, all these shifts where we are now, I'm playing on the computer at home, playing on my friend's computer, making a little graphic, or I'm at school in the library and, there's the row of computers and I'm making the voice talking program say something funny as it goes down and running around the corner. Right. And all this stuff. And I'm making a website to, get a scholarship and stuff. And now almost every single thing that I do, well, pretty much everything I do is exactly all the same stuff that I've been doing since I was a little kid. Right. So there's from tinkering with the websites, like it's the same code I've been tinkering with since I was a little kid. It's not like code to write, a program. It's just this basic kind of, HTML.
Yeah.
Right, and everything kind of included. And so, it's like if the closest you could get to maybe putting on the Matrix kind of hat or helmet and kind of jacking in and going out, I feel really lucky in that, Chess Club is basically, it's just me monetized, basically, and, I get to work with everything from, I've got a client right now that is based in Kenya and Rwanda. A big part of what they do is women's health education. They help they distribute menstrual care products, things like things that I never thought that I would take seriously or dive into, but now I guess you get to, I don't want to say a period of mastery, but you get to an area to where you're like, gosh, if I'm so good, I should be able to be good at this, or no matter what it is, or I should be able to dive in and find the story or latch on, or so having something like that all the way to, I've got this. I don't want to say this, but probably my favorite client.
One of your favorite clients?
No, he's my favorite.
Okay, your
He's my
favorite. Got it.
No, but no. So he's a Rabbi Levy, right? So Rabbi Levy contacted me 2 or 3 years ago, and my business wasn't doing good at the time, right? I was really struggling, and I was on one of these contractor websites, and he sends me a message, and he says, "Hey, I'm looking for somebody to help me with live streaming," and I'm like, "I appreciate your message. I'm in Florida. You're in Chicago. I don't even really know how I could, do, whatever." And he's like, no, you're the right guy. Okay. So we started, he books consulting sessions. And over the last couple of years, I've watched Rabbi Levy grow from just basically turning on his phone while he's teaching. I don't know if he's in the temple or community. He teaches every day a Torah class.
And just records it while he's going?
Just throws on. That's what we talked about. What should we do?
Yeah.
Right. He just throws on Facebook Live, right?
Huh.
And YouTube. And as every broadcast has developed, his posture's changed a little bit. His tone has changed a little bit. His swagger's changed a little bit. And now he's like, you turn on Rabbi Levy and you're like, oh, I'm not his target audience per se, but you learn, right? And I'll text him a message and I'll go, Rabbi Levy, I didn't understand this from my background and blah, blah. And he'll be like, oh, we have this conversation to where, Jews and Christians come together and like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's neat. Oh, I learned this about, I didn't know that. Oh. Yeah. And you have kind of this dialogue where, it's, and it's kind of easy to say, he's my age, our age, right? Yeah. And to see like, wow, man, you are deep in this other kind of life and culture, right? Deep in. And here I am from the other side of the world, basically. And here we are doing this, just kind of chatting like buddies, having a session, and I'm trying to help you out with this thing, and who would ever think, right? Yeah. And but the thing, Rabbi Levi, I love him so much, or like so much. What he does is, he keeps broadcasting and has built a small but dedicated audience. And you look at the footprint of what he does. I said, let me check in. Did you take care of your YouTube this last year? Like I said, open his YouTube. It's just video after video after video after video. 50 views, 350. And he's like, well, the numbers. I'm like, these are great numbers. Yeah. Like anybody, like it's not gonna be lightning. But then I'm looking and I'm seeing his titles are like, he's got them now to where it's like he did one, do you have demons? But he used the lowercase u and the question mark, which seems kind of like, I don't want to say like a teenager thing, but no, that's crushing it, right? That's crushing it. Because you look at it, you're like, oh, get it, Rabbi Levi, that's really good. And you see, if he has a successful kind of fundraiser or thing like that, you kind of see like the news will interview him, the local news on things, and you see kind of the result of a person just showing up and just turning the camera on for 5 or 10 minutes every day, regardless. Yeah. He does like a thing where he does a bedtime story with his kids, right? And I'm not exactly sure of the exact nature, but he'll do broadcasts, at midnight or at different hours, and kind of a special thing where kind of life and all this stuff becomes kind of real. He'd ask me, he goes, hey, can you can't work for me from sundown on Thursday, I think, until this day. I didn't exactly right, but he's like, I can't do any work. You can't do any work.
What? Religious?
Yeah,
or
yeah.
The religious reason?
Yeah, I forget the term. Yeah. And so, okay. But there was this day or whatever where, I had checked his analytics or something on a Sunday or something like that. And it was like, man, I felt bad, and I'm almost tearing up. So
that happens on this show, man, for real.
I felt bad because like you look at, let's just say Jewish people, traditional Orthodox, they have such a burden of culture, right? And it's beautiful. And it doesn't have anything to do with anything you or I do, And so I really respect it. And, I felt so bad for just even looking at the app. Because it's like, I don't know what kind of burden, or I don't want to say punishment, but I don't know what kind of burden I've placed on you by me just simply thinking, oh, this is okay, this is a quick second. I don't know what sort of burden that I placed on you as a result of that. Whether that is you got to pray extra, or maybe, some kind of thing, because your rules are different than my rules.
It's viewed as like a sin or something along that nature.
Whatever it is, whatever you have to atone for, account for, like, I'm really sorry, man. Yeah. And he's like, I'm emotional, right? He's like, don't even worry about it. It's all good. I've already accounted for this. I knew you would probably do something like that.
Okay.
Like,
and you took it harder on yourself.
Exactly. And so I got around to here. I'm like, okay. Like, all right. All right.
This is why I wanted to talk to you, man, because you got this 10-year plus career. We'll get into some of that other stuff, but at least the last 10 years, you're doing something that, hearing you now, you're passionate about as a kid, and now you're turning it into a way to make some money and live a certain lifestyle for yourself. But you're working with people in Kenya, you're working with people in Chicago, and it's an interesting life that you built here for yourself. And seriously, why I wanted to sit down and have this conversation with you. But for people that, and selfishly, this might help me a little bit in my journey of trying to figure out this YouTube and podcasting world, was sort of the other things I want to talk about too. But for SEO, back to that for a second, man. It's search engine optimization, but this is a valuable market, right? I mean, this is a big thing for small companies, big companies that you found yourself in, right? I mean, it's a big industry, people trying to figure this out, right?
It's probably, so industry sizes, there's different things, but I would say SEO is probably arguably one of the top 3 superpowers that you could develop as a human being in the modern world. And I'd say one of them being Jiu Jitsu, martial arts, another being some kind of mastery of some kind of reason, some kind of firearm or something, and kind of the other being the ability to navigate this information network, because it's not an internet or the computer or whatever. It's people are robots now, basically, and you just don't, just because this is not stuck in your head yet or whatever. I'll tell you what, there's a lot of stuff in your body that interacts with signals that come out of this.
Sure.
Nothing to do with conspiracy. Just, you basically, when I was in Seattle and, I would work next to developers and stuff, I heard them say, like, they're basically giving you endorphins on purpose. Every time this little buzzer goes off, they know that you're getting a little endorphin shot. So I can affect your biology and your chemistry through one of these things.
From far away.
Yeah, man. And, kind of to look at, how all this works is everybody wants to be found first, right? So I used to work in Yellow Pages, and, my first,
actual print Yellow Pages?
Yeah, it was my first sales job.
Oh, wow,
yeah.
okay.
We had the number 1 inside sales team in the country.
Nice.
And I was the worst salesman.
You contributed mightily.
Yeah. Reason. So anyway, people would always, Wolfman, come on, Wolf. He's a good boy.
Yeah.
Reason.
He's getting excited.
Come here, Wolf. Come join the show.
Yes.
Come join the show. There you go. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
So everyone would want to have, A this, AAA that, A space, towing or whatever, right? So everybody knew, like, if I come up at the top, I have a better chance if I'm towards the beginning. And then so what arena or avenue does that not apply to now?
Right.
Right? And then SEO is basically the free traffic, right? If you can get it and maintain the rank and all that. But it doesn't matter if it's on YouTube or Amazon or Google. All of these systems, almost all of them, have some sort of way to optimize for rank, right? And visibility, right? And there's just so much power in the first kind of spot, in any sort of situation takes 80% plus, or the lion's share of the traffic, just by far. And that's
because it's first.
Just because it's first. Like, one thing that's consistent in what I do is human psychology. So people click the first thing, they make a quick decision. It's easy to kind of rely on that one thing, even if the technology changes. But as far as being a superpower goes, like, I say that the search engine is not the search engine. The search engine is the human being and the person and the brain. This is the search engine, right? So it doesn't matter how the technology changes. There's only going to be so many ways you can say, Mexican restaurant near me, tacos near me, tacos Claremont, or, what happens when, is my dog sick if he's throwing up in the yard, or, that sort of thing. To be able to be the resource in the kind of lexicon, and to be able to say, hey, I know a chance to be able to rank really quickly, where everyone else, or the standard thing is 6 months or a year or 12 months. As an SEO, doing this stuff, you'll publish something and then you'll see it come up on the top of Google within a few hours or a couple of days, right? And you're like, all right, this
Yeah.
is pretty cool, right? And then you look at the difference in maybe something that doesn't rank, and you'd be not surprised, but like anything else, people just they don't fill out everything. They'll skip over a field, whether it's a form or whatever it is. If for SEO online, the basic thing is just people just don't fill out. Like they don't actually provide the information. So if the system doesn't have any information, why is it going to reward
How would it know?
visibility? Yeah, how would
Yeah.
it know?
Yeah.
Like you're like, so a big part of all of this being such a wide open industry still is that people just will like, I mean, how many business profiles do you want to sit there and fill out all day, or to where I'm writing the same thing about my business over and over again.
Right.
It takes 10 photos of my business. Here's 5, right? And then you go, okay, well, did you take your photos and did you take the geo data and give it the right coordinate for where you want to be and a couple other little things? And did you name the file name something that's with the keywords aligned, that's not spammy? And you're like, just to upload the picture? Well, here's the thing. Is you can upload 5. I'll upload 5. I'm going to see how much information and things I can get into my 5, and you just do the regular 5, right? And so you have a system that kind of looks at all these factors and signals, and as much as SEO can be complex or whatever, there's a lot of front-facing factors that you can identify and be like, oh, obviously that's why this ranked or that didn't rank. Like the word for whatever this thing is doesn't even appear on this page for it, or any of the text on the front end or the back end. Like the language literally isn't even there, right? So
some simple stuff that you're introducing to these people that automatically make it better as far as where they're being ranked when they're being searched.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm laughing. I'm like, I don't know. You're talking about passion. Like, I don't know how I get from I do, but like taking something like this and then having it play out with like the Rabbi Levi, where it's like emotionally impacting me as a person. I'm experiencing growth, all from, I'm not talking about, Google, blah, blah, blah. So, this stuff, it's like kind of the practical play out of people's, how do people see me and validate me? Like, so validation is another thing. Like you can have, such great content or, really, really good stuff and put so much work into it, and it could be the right thing, but man, you just didn't, you didn't name the video just like a thing that would be easy for people to find.
Or the thumbnail's no good.
Or the thumbnail's no good, or you're too clever, or, and like
too clickbaity.
And it's just gone. Right. And it's like, so like even that is even impacting me, is that it's like this human, it's like these little plays. Social media is a better example. It's related, but like every single day, every company, every person, every day is, no matter what they say, they're like, I hope I go viral. I hope I go viral. Right? And here we are posting every day, again and again and again and again. Hope I go viral. Gotta update everybody. Like, what is this appetite for content that we have this thing? What's funny with my business is that I spent so much time last year doing marketing for me because it was slow. And now this year, I'm busier than I've ever been. And I'm doing almost no marketing, and my marketing is broken. Right? So there's this kind of line too, to where, like my marketing is broken, the links are broken. I set up a complex sales funnel, and then after a few months, one program changes, and you're like, oh, I got to go back there and fix this. But it's remarkable, I think, that, people are willing to overlook a poorly designed website, a shopping cart that breaks multiple times as you're trying to load it. People are willing to overlook all of that if you have what they need, right? They'll do a janky website, they'll do all this stuff, and it's like, what is the most valuable thing then in all of this stuff is like the information, right? But just the desire for people to just keep consuming and keep finding, and
but the product is still what's most important.
No, I'll tell you why. It's a great question.
Yeah.
The most important thing is this sense of identity that the social media you publish, either as a person or a company, gives to somebody else when they click on it or interact with it.
That it gives the consumer looking at it, that person.
You make me look good by me clicking on that post, right? So my persona that I'm crafting, you could say in the regular world, maybe people collect clothes or hats or boots. Well, in this other kind of virtual world, whether they intend to or not, people collect posts that paint them as a person. Because people know if I click on this, somebody else is going to see it. I want to click on this because it's giving me those endorphins. So you have this giant stockpile of endorphin-related clicks that all tell the story of what makes a person feel good or what they want to get away from in order to not feel bad, right? So the way that a company or a person or a thing, the identity or the lifestyle that is associated with the image and the sounds, even if the person is not buying from them, just clicking on it and having it on their general kind of thing, that paints their identity, which is getting towards kind of, like a virtual, you could say, a virtual world where everybody is an avatar and all this stuff. Well, that's what I was saying is this isn't plugged into your head just yet, but we're basically there to where you can take an abstraction of all of this and say, okay, this guy is riding down the road on a Bluetooth skateboard with AirPods in, a supercomputer, and a high-speed data connection. That is not an Android or a robot or whatever, just without the wires. That may be even better, right? Because that may be even better. You're telling me that I have a modular system that I don't even have to click stuff in?
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty cool, man. We may be at the peak. And so you kind of, you go past all this stuff and you're like, oh, this isn't really happening. Yes, it is. It really is the future.
But this scares people, man. Elon Musk. You listen to Joe Rogan? You ever meet somebody and you're like, this guy definitely listens to Joe Rogan? I'm gaining that from you here that you probably. So, yes, Joe Rogan? Okay. A little bit?
When I moved to Hollywood, there's only like 2 or 3 people I wanted to meet.
Yeah.
One of them was Joe Rogan.
Did you get to?
Man, so we're at, I think it was a Comedy Store. Really small show. We go outside afterwards. There's people talking to him and everywhere. And there's guys right in front of him chatting him up. And I go right behind the 2 guys. It's this thing. It's called, my friend Linda Brett Kell. It's called calibrating. Where if people are talking or whatever and you want to talk to them and you go up to them in networking, you just stand there and you just wait like nothing is wrong. And you just wait your turn. It can be hard sometimes, dude. You just wait. And they're like, oh, Michael. You're like, oh. So I'm just standing there calibrating. Okay. Standing there calibrating behind the 2 guys. Joe Rogan, he goes, they're talking to him, and he just breaks from listening to them, and he goes, and he makes eye contact with me, and he takes the 2 guys, he goes, oh, excuse me. And he parts the 2 guys. He walks up to me, he goes, hey, buddy. And I said, Tyrone Biggins said, hey, Joe Rogan, right? So immediately he knows, right? And, yeah. And he's like, you like the show or whatever? And I said, yeah, man. I said, he's where you from? I'm like, I just moved out here. I said, I just went to the shops here and learned about sativas and indicas. And he's like, yeah, man. And he explained to me the difference and, all those types of different things. And we had this really cool connection, this really dope connection.
Nice.
And he gave me a hug.
Huh.
Yeah, he gave me a hug.
Wow.
And he goes, you want to take a picture, buddy? And I got a picture of me and Joe Rogan, dude. Nice. I'm so happy, that's right, in this picture. And that was Joe Rogan, man. Like, just, excuse me, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy.
You opposite of what some people out in that world get, where everybody's asking for a picture, or instead of, what was the term you called it? Standing back and calibrating. Instead of calibrating, they're probably jumping on me. Hey, I got something I want to pitch you, or hey, I got something I want to take your picture so I can get this. But I brought it up because you're mentioning something that I think about a lot, which is how much people are feeding into this electronic version of ourselves, right? And Elon was the one that scared me, listening to him come on Rogan a couple times, and he called us a cyborg. And here you are talking about this where people don't realize how much of a cyborg we already are in today's day and age with our cell phones and other stuff. But in your space, do you find that more people are getting fearful of this kind of technology and this kind of thing that's happening to humans?
So I'll tell you something funny.
All right.
So yes and no, but it depends on the category, and people usually contradict kind of their reasoning, or like the I don't have anything to hide, so why should I be worried?
Sure.
Those people contradict themselves the most, right? Type thing. But hold on, I lost my train of thought here. Hold on. What, can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So kind of this, in the space that you're in, you're finding some people are, I don't have anything to hide, so I don't care that my microphone can be turned on, right?
But technology is, they're afraid of the technology.
If they're afraid of what's happening as far as how much data is being collected, this fearfulness of how much we're plugging in. Yeah.
So I remember I was thinking.
Yeah, for sure.
So remember in the very beginning of the internet, per se, people would like, I'm never putting my credit card in there, right? So now
you save them in there.
I'm buying stocks on here. Down. Great.
Damn it. GameStop or what you got over there?
Sundial's down.
Okay.
I got it good. It went up, but I'm hanging on to that one for a while. So
pull up a little. I can lower that, but more like into it, man. There you go. That's
okay.
Good. That's good.
So people when
sorry. Let me.
He's gonna get you, bro. So people want to put their credit card in, right? And that took a while. Even when I was selling Yellow Pages, it'd be like, I don't know if I'm giving you my credit card over the phone. I'm like, oh, okay, But now they will, right? And they've got, they scan their fingerprints in. You can use your face to open your phone, right? All this crazy stuff. But let me show you the fear. So, and the difference. So in Nairobi, in Kenya, they have this really cool technology called M-Pesa.
Okay.
Right? And all M-Pesa is it's text to pay. So they have, little shops like anything else in stores, and you can load up your M-Pesa balance, right? And then you'll be at a grocery store or in an Uber, and it will say, to pay, text 01625. That's the end of the transaction.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
No credit card.
No cash.
No bank account.
Nothing,
no cash.
Bank account. Huh.
And then no app.
Text, all SMS text based. Wow.
So if you have like the very best app, I'm not sure the number is, but like the best app, I think only has 5% of the people actually use it. Like Facebook or whatever. Like the best app doesn't have everybody. Right. And so everybody can't use that platform because they don't have the app.
Yeah.
But everyone has SMS and everyone can use it. And it is, that's right there. And so here we are in America. We have all this, I'll do it with my face and my fingerprint and two-step verification.
Yeah.
Why don't we do text to pay?
Yeah.
It's so simple.
That seems simple.
Yeah, text to pay. If you like to just text this thing, you can put the number on anywhere, anything. Just text this number to pay. And and so kind of the technology then, as far as advanced as it gets, compared from one place to another, it's even, has kind of a spectrum in what people are willing to do or what they find or interpret to be safe.
Sure.
Right. But I mean, in the data, anybody can go into their Facebook profile and look at their advertising profile. That is everything that you clicked on that you like. They have it as a record for you to see what you like. Which you could say that it's scary. You could delete it, or you could fine tune it. Right? You could fine tune it. So, kind of, it's not so much I'm worried about than how much of my data is out there, things like that. What I'm worried about and what I try and avoid is other people's data. In the sense that on Facebook, I've had this kind of personal policy the last year or two. I unfollow everybody. I'm friends, with everybody, but I unfollow almost everybody immediately. And I'll only follow a person on there for a week or two, then I unfollow.
Why?
Because I want them to tell me about their life. I don't want to know. I want you to tell me. I want to be shocked. Like, I want you to tell me, like, you did what, man? You started a fishing? What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Right? Or like I don't want to find about a wedding or a child or
You don't want to find out through social media.
through social media. No, I don't want to. You know what I mean? I don't. It's like it's robbing it from me. It's stealing that moment from me, or that that curiosity or that mystery of another person.
Yeah.
It's kind of stealing that,
Sure.
right? And
That's an interesting way to look at it, man, because I've been off like Instagram and Facebook for years, probably 5 or 6 years, like no posts, no nothing.
Nice.
But I've been getting in LinkedIn, YouTube specific. But that's interesting because I share that same thing. I'd much rather learn about you this way or on the phone if you can actually hear somebody's voice, because what became increasingly clear to me is what people post on there, and not necessarily who you are, right? It's like you said, it's how you want to be perceived in some cases. And again, it was so fake, man. I just couldn't keep up with how fake, especially people that I knew. I'm like, you're not really that happy, or whatever the case may be, right? So it became too fake for me to even pay attention to.
Yeah, I got into when I moved to Seattle. There's only a few people I wanted to meet as well.
Yeah.
And one of them was he's a famous photographer. His name is Jarvis. He runs Creative Live. I come across his work from Tim Ferriss.
Okay.
Right. And so Chase is giving this talk, this fireside chat, and I'm in the front row, right? And he's talking, and he starts explaining to kids or the people there how, with social media, he's like, fake it till you make it. And this was right before all of the opinion on this. And he was saying how, it is competitive and people are judging you. So kind of make it look that way until it's real. At my first Yellow Page job, we would always say that our competitor had a sign on the wall that said, fake it till you make it, because they did. And that's easy to sell against. I mean, it's easy to tell your team when you're not, there yet as some kind of motivation, but, it's maybe not necessarily the real thing. But
from a business standpoint, that makes sense. But from some of the personal standpoint, I don't know. I just think it drives more and more division amongst people.
Yeah, and so that was kind of what I approached him after, and I was like, "Listen, man, it's nice to meet you, right? But I would be, I think, remiss. I'd be remiss if I didn't say, like, I am the 27-year-old guy at that time who is around these, I think I was 30 actually, who's around these 20-year-olds, all day in this tech community or whatever. Like, you can't be telling these kids to fake it, man. Like, they got enough stuff going on. Sure. Like, man, you can't look at it as an angle like this stuff doesn't matter or whatever. And he's like, he basically told me that I was an idiot, all this stuff. Who am I? And I was like, all right, man, I'm just trying to have a, maybe not the best kiss your booty conversation.
A real one, though.
But it's my turn to talk to you, and I'm trying to, whatever. And then he's like, whatever. He's like, maybe it might be good to get a beer sometime or something. And I'm like, dude, you kind of just straight up insulted me, called me an idiot, told me that I'm stupid, this and that.
And now you want to get a beer?
And you're like, hero or whatever. Now you want to get a beer.
Wow.
Like, don't meet your heroes or whatever.
Yeah.
But that was, I was really upset because, that was the same time to where, there have been times in my social media career where I've published information that I felt was maybe like a conspiracy and then had to pull it off. Like, I was doing a lot of content a few years ago about a social credit score system, right? And now that's a real thing. Yeah. But I was kind of feeling like a little conspiratorial, like, oh, maybe I'm just too on the fringe. But there was a time where I was saying, hey, look, this Facebook is trying to make me feel bad, right? Like, that's the things that it's showing me is a special combination of make me feel bad.
It's
right?
SEO that it's pushing in front of you. This is making you feel bad.
This is SEO to a next level. This is not search engine. This is search engine optimization, right? And so it's showing me pictures of people's families, happy memories, vacation or whatever, but a very, very specific mix that's making me feel a very specific kind of yucky to where it's almost this line of, I don't necessarily like what I'm watching this like a sports game, but there's some part of me that is like sad and yearning or whatever that this is like exploiting. Like it feels like it doesn't feel very good, right? And it came out in the news, very close following, that Facebook was indeed testing a feature where if they showed you pictures of people that maybe had a family and you didn't, or how would you respond? So kind of, there's searching and typing in what you're looking for. And then there's also the way that a person uses an app and how much time they spend on an image or what they do click on. That may not be a search for information, but it's a search for what? Validation, right? So search engine optimization, you can search for information, you can search for validation, you can search for entertainment, right? So kind of the way that and that's all fair game. I didn't know what I was searching for by clicking through Facebook like that.
Right.
Meaning? And what does Facebook come back and show me? Hey, you shouldn't do this to yourself, but if you want to,
here it is.
I got some for you. Man, that's pretty dangerous and dirty and nasty and wicked, right? Yeah. And that's the state of.
But is that why so many people, it seems like, are concerned from a privacy side? They're bringing Facebook, Apple, all these guys in to talk to Congress or senators. Who I pay attention to it a little bit. But is that the major concern? Is that they're getting all this data now from the billions of people that they can collect it from? That now they're able to do things like that.
I'm gonna take a risk here.
Okay.
It absolutely will never ever happen that data is protected and private on the internet because the amount of money is insane.
Yeah.
It's an insane amount of money. Because as somebody who used to sell newspaper ads, yellow page ads, direct mail, all that stuff, and hear like, oh, no, yellow pages don't work. This doesn't work. That doesn't work. I have an AI right now with Facebook ads that I put money into for my clients, and this AI builds a customer profile and does all of the hard work for me. And it does it for pennies on the dollar. Whereas a full page yellow page ad was $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, $3,000 a month. This does it for $5 for a couple days, right? So this super powerful thing, it can't do that without the data, right? And a lot of companies that you work with or have a profile on their site, and you wonder how they make money.
That's how.
It's from the data. Yeah, even right down to how am I moving around with this, or whatever. So then you have in this kind of other world, this ad tech world, where you have a publisher who needs to get 1 million people to their website every month. They grew that year. They got lots of business. Well, to renew with their clients, the clients are going to want to see some growth.
Right.
Well, the growth ultimately kind of peaks out somewhere. It caps, right? So they need to get qualified traffic. So you can buy traffic from over here and say, hey, this is qualified for this reason. And this other person can come in and buy it. And then this little tiny half of a penny, in a matter of just a split second, goes from half a penny to 50 cents. Like all in just a moment, right? Of, being bid up, rebid, this. That industry in that little pocket, from what I understand, makes the drug war, the dwarfs the ad tech industry. I may be wrong, but from my friends and colleagues, the ad tech problem of dirty money on the internet, of dirty ad money, is billions and billions of dollars. And most people, I mean, even me, don't really understand how the little bid system works. And there's companies who their whole entire job is to audit that data, right, and say that it's true or not. So then you have these relationships with these companies who can make money by saying, oh, this is good or this is bad. And then very close colleague of mine showed me. So he was a president of the fraternity that I was in, but at a different school.
Okay.
He's my buddy,
Yeah.
right? So he's like, let me show you something. Showed me a major publisher, an email come in that says, hey, do you have any traffic for sale? I need this many people per month, and up to 30% of it, or 40 or 60, can be bot traffic. What? So there are major media companies that are buying fake traffic on purpose, right?
Why? Just to be able to say this is how much traffic
the
they
numbers
get?
are going up, right? So to even be able to buy the ads or whatever, that whole kind of thing, if there's no user data, there's nothing. It's just all shotgun ads. It's just all billboards. It's not going to be like you can identify someone to such an nth degree. And what people always talk about, oh, my privacy, you don't even have any idea what it's not being private. What are you talking about? Like, you have, I mean, if you do any sort of research at all on just components, patents, whatever, these devices, they have cameras that see through the back panel.
Yeah.
Like there's almost all the cameras, audio, microphone, it's two-way. You look at like any patent, you can take audio from a window, from the vibrations. Like there's no, like if you don't have a right to have privacy for some reason or whatsoever, you're not going to have it. And the privacy that you do have, or however, and then you have to really take this conversation a step further and go, okay, well, in which country are you talking about rights and privacy, right? Because your kind of idea of what you're used to is not, maybe you don't understand how free you are in USA.
Yeah, there's a lot of people like that.
Yeah, maybe you don't understand, maybe the kind of trade-in for safety here, and what you want to be private is what. And kind of then there's things like privacy then amongst other people or, whatever. But social media throws that all out the window.
Yeah.
We kind of paint that picture. But, people talk about the privacy. But if they actually knew what data was out there that is of concern, they'd probably think it was pretty neat if they fine-tuned it and said, oh, that's who you guys think I am?
Yeah.
Like how many times have I have a couple like old-fashioned magazines, right, of different stuff like Jiu Jitsu or whatever, making beats.
Nice.
2 things on the back covers are things that I bought within a year. Both of them within a year. So it's on the back cover advertisement. I'm looking at it. It's here for a year, and then I go and buy it. Internet marketing, and the ad goes up today. If no one bought it today as a result from clicking on the ad, it was a failure. This thing has been in my house for now years, and I went and bought it. I'm like, oh, all right, yeah,
I've been looking at this for a year.
Yeah, I've been looking at this forever, right? So, like that type of shopping or whatever, and people love to shop, man.
But that's what it seems like. You got these people that are, I don't have anything to hide. I don't care who's tracking it. But it seems like, to me, at least my opinion, the data they're using it for is to just try to sell you more stuff or put the right ad in front of you. But I heard Zuckerberg talking to Congress where it was 80%, I think he said 80, of Facebook's revenue comes from the data that they collect. And they're worth a shit ton of money. So I understand people's concern, but from my point, I don't think you're going to stop it. It's either you get off of it altogether, like you said, it's never going to be controlled. I think they're doing more things now where you can opt in and out of what's being saved. But for me, I'm not hiding anything, but if they want to try to sell me something by using my data to put the right ad in front of me, whatever.
Well, it's like I'd say, like, hey, are you recording this? Right? If you're online, you're recording this. If you're using a device, have some sort of signature or trail or whatever, is really the issue here is, are you recording this?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And like, it's funny, man. People take themselves so serious, and have this stuff, and like, 100 years or 200 years when you're just a legacy or dust or however, who cares about your social media?
Right.
Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Right? And it almost is like you have to rip off the mask, and that's what I'm saying is when I go in this work and I do this thing, like, it is like an interface to me. It's just like in the Matrix where the guy's looking at, he goes, no, now I see house, I see tree, right? I don't need to see the code anymore, right? No, now I see this, I see that, I don't even see, right? And you can be in here and have this, like you said, these oak trees and this lake out here and this beautiful stuff, and you can spend the whole day like this.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how and when did that happen to us, man? Like, it's a position in your neck that you never had in your life. Like, people build up. I mean, how many people have gotten that little arthritis thing in their thumb or their finger, or had my finger go numb one day. One day I was an idiot and fought on the phone all day on text messaging, and then my finger went numb for like 3 or 4 months.
Damn.
Yeah. I mean, it was a long fight, right?
Yeah, that's a long text battle.
That's what you, but then, like, what is that though? That now all of a sudden, did that cost us too?
Yep.
To where we could have fought it out in person?
Yeah.
Just because we didn't have some kind of thing to tap words on?
But man, the way people perceive written word is different than the way people perceive what you say. Sometimes you could text something, somebody take it like, hey, well, I didn't mean it that way. But if you're in a battle that long, I can imagine. But
well, man,
this one speaks to me a lot. I think about this a lot with tech, and I'll tell you why. I met this doctor. I'm trying to get him to come on the show, but he's the only eye therapist that kids get this eye turn that's formulating more and more because of how much they're looking at tablets, computer screens, and cell phones because their eyes are like this. He's the only guy in Central Florida that does the therapy instead of doing the surgery, right? But he gets 6-year-olds, 13-year-olds. He gets adults that spend too much time looking at their phone that then this one eye turns in permanently. And I don't think people are realizing the dangers of some of this stuff, not just the data and the privacy, but the physical dangers that you could be getting while you're using these devices.
Your back, your posture. Yeah, that was posture is your breathing, your alignment, your circulation, all that stuff. Like the heat on the phone, you have testicular cancer. That's a real issue, man. You know what? And I'm sure female, but they usually carry in a purse. I mean, I think that's a safe area to where you can, make a blanket statement that most women are going to carry it not by their crotch. Yeah. Right? Like,
we're going to have it.
Yeah, what about that to where these things are so prolific and there's so little conversation on keeping us by our crotch the whole time? Yeah. Right? Like, I'm just now realizing that. Like, that's kind of crazy.
I went 2 months where I didn't look at my cell phone one time.
Nice.
This was probably about 4 months ago. It was awesome. Like, just never thinking about it, never caring about it. After coming from working for 15 years where I was on it all day, every day, dude, it was awesome. And just one of those things that it made me even realize even more what you said. If people forget, we're just a speck on this earth, man. Eventually, we're not going to be here, and people hold so much ego and shit inside that, like, really, you're not that valuable in the grand scheme of the universe. And I mentioned these oak trees and this lake and shit that you got out here. That's the kind of stuff that makes me remember those things. That, like, man, I got a short time here.
You made me think of I don't know if you ever saw that episode of Seinfeld where Costanza, his wallet is so big and
he's sitting up like this.
Like that, and it gives him like the back
all his receipts or whatever he had in there. Yeah.
But then that's why I started carrying my wallet in my front pocket. Was that episode?
Tired of sitting on it. Oh, that episode made you get it out of there.
It made sense.
Interesting.
Yeah, it made sense. Like that's gonna mess your back up, this and that. So I started carrying it in my front pocket. But the way that kind of let's say like Jerry or whatever would be like, yeah, that's how you do that. Like, you're using the technology wrong. Why do you have it in your back pocket? And why are you keeping all that stuff? Of course it's going to give you back problems. You know what I'm saying? So, with this stuff, kind of the moderation or whatever, man, there is nothing like being able to just be like, oh, what is this? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, got it. Yeah. But then to bring it back to SEO, I don't know then if it's more valuable to be able to, I think this was my point. I don't know if it's more valuable to be able to do SEO as a person or as a company or as an entity, or if the real value is then you being the SEO, you knowing how to search the data. And this, I think, is a very overlooked skill, is to go to a Google search or to use the web to find the information or the right type of information, right? Like, people assume like drivers. How many bad drivers are there? A lot, right? Well, where did they go to driving practice school at? Nowhere. You're either good at driving or you're perpetually bad at it. It's not like you get better at driving by driving if you're a bad driver,
Or
which
if
is
you're
an odd
like
paradox.
your parents introduced it to you like mine was well before I ever drove. So by the time I got my license, it was no problem.
Yeah.
But some people, they go that first time and they fail because they suck at it.
Yeah. So, kind of like, using the technology. What were we talking about using the technology?
You were going on with a point. I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No.
You were making a point about whether the SEO is valuable or the way you navigate
that's what I'm saying is the more valuable skill then I think is to be able to navigate these websites and systems and search engines to be able to pull actionable data from it. And then, where I see it play out is in my industry, everybody does SEO, everybody does social media, because you can, like, marketing is such a saturated area to find content on, right? And this plays to my benefit at the same time, is I can tell where somebody is at or how knowledgeable they are based off the spread of marketing websites or marketing links or things that they send to me, right? I can see kind of in an instant how credible it is through, it's a 1,000 tiny little things, right? And one of them, out of place would sound like nothing or everything. And, but you can see in just a split second, like they're very well educated with very poor resources, right? And now here's this mountain of a person who has this foundation of, garbage for information, right? Oh, and how can you tell? How do you know? Well, somehow in the, lifetime that I've been on the internet and doing this for companies and businesses, I can kind of see in the language or the structure and this, that, everything into account. Like I can see the credibility, and it's hard sometimes when someone has spent so much time following a fake guru or, a kind of standard internet marketing kind of trick to fake it till you make it. Exactly. That's what so you can see the people who are following the fakers versus I know the 2 or 3 that are the good ones, right? And some of them even have invited me to a beer, right? Like one of them is a friend that I met at a conference, and that's the cool thing about life is, as well with all this, I've gotten to, I've got one of my business partner, Sam, we call him Spam. He's got, at one point, I think he had 65 million people on his email list. He had clients, big clients and stuff like that. But he would come down. So I was working for a real estate startup when I met him, and he'd come down to the main lobby and he'd be like, all right, I'm going to send a letter to these real estate agents, for this product. He's like, I'm going to try and be as aggressive as possible. Like, if you don't click today, your career is going to be done by 5 o'clock, right?
Geez.
Yeah. And so then he'd come back down later in the afternoon. He'd be like, look, it'd be like 50, 60 grand in an hour of him sending it out, right?
Dang.
And you're like, dang, dude. Yeah. So now, to kind of, meet people like that who, have these different, skill sets related to kind of the digital game or, digital marketing, and, whether it be email or SEO or web design, and then to kind of over time meet your heroes in the spaces and then the best of the best type people, and to, kind of just dispel, I don't know, man, sometimes it feels like a movie in the sense that these other people I work with are superheroes in their own right, where, you're like, how did you understand that code problem? Or, so the whole kind of thing, it's almost like a fractal to where whether it's the real world and it's a squad or a team or however, then here in the kind of virtual world, it's the same thing. It's kind of the same kind of ragtag thing. Like people fall into these identities, like even in a video game where you take a role as a medic or a sniper or however, people are still falling into these roles and playing a team as kind of like, a support thing. So no matter, how all this stuff shifts, I think that you can find the humanity in it, You know, obviously I was like at the beginning, I found the humanity in opening a analytics app on the weekend, and that totally crushed my world.
Yeah.
Right? What's happening for
And you're still emotional talking about it today.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But I'm just saying that there's a humanity to all of this.
Sure.
You know, to the way people search and the words they use and don't use and what they find and don't find and who gets discovered and not discovered and work that never gets seen and you know, how much work every day is there that content that nobody saw today.
That nobody sees. Yeah.
You know, and it's just kind of it's dust in the wind.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I think people, you mentioned the humanity of it. People find ways to get themselves into tribes or groups or whatever the case may be, because I think that's built into us.
Yeah.
You know, we know that if we're in a group of people or there's other people like us, that makes us feel better, feel safer, or whatever the case may be. And the internet definitely helps. I think we're better off with it than without it. I think it's debatable. You know, you mentioned AI. It's debatable if that's going to be the end of us all. I think some serious people debate that, but at the end of the day, I don't think we're going to be able to control that either. And I think it's something that we're just going to have to deal with one way or the other.
I think the mushrooms
are
a good example in this case. I read somewhere or I saw on a YouTube documentary, like something of 80% of the ground, if you walk around on the grass, is like a connected fungi. It's one giant connected fungi.
Yeah.
Right. And you're looking around. You're like, I'm walking on a giant living thing, right? A giant kind of mushroom, all right? And then you're like, oh my gosh, there's an internet already right outside too, right? There's the fungi network under the ground, connected with these kind of trees and their roots, obviously communicating. Come on, right?
Sure.
And then you even have these little birds that fly in and out of the trees and tweet. Yeah.
The real tweets. Yeah.
Well, there was a day where I was watching birds. I was out walking, and something about the way that they were, one would make a sound and the others would follow. That's exactly how it works in real life on Twitter. Sure. When you go viral, it's the same kind of principle, same kind of thing. Like, you know, just, you know, standing there. You know, I think the coolest thing that I'd ever overheard, though, you know, in Seattle was someone said, yeah, the website has a real narrow target market and it's only about one thing. It's going to be a real joy to work on. Like that was what someone was saying on their Saturday afternoon stroll to their friend, was that how much of a relief it would be to work on a website that was about one thing for one audience, right? Like, you know, how serious, you know, it has become.
Yeah. But I think people forget that some people get into the world where they forget about that world outside, that there is this whole other network. And the other thing I think people forget is we're just part of that also. We're just an animal like that bird trying to make calls out to other people to connect to us in the way that we know how. I think people forget that we're just an animal here too, trying to we just think we're smarter than everybody else.
You ever talk to the fish?
Like actually speak to them?
Yeah, just talk to them.
Yeah.
When you're out there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Tell them thank you for letting me catch
even when you pull them out of the water.
Oh,
like,
yeah, man.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
You know, I appreciate it, buddy.
I got 39 fishing episodes. Probably every episode I'm talking to a fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'll do my dog, obviously. So I started my business when I got my dog. My mom brought him to me. And I had him for a couple weeks, and I was working pretty far away. I was doing like a timeshare sales thing, and I didn't think it was fair to keep him, and I gave him away, and the lady gave him back like a week later, and we've been inseparable. But so I quit my job, and I've been home with him for, you know, over 10 years now, and like we have just plain language conversation, right? Where I'm able to, well, it's not like he says it back with words, but I'm able to just talk with him. Wolfman, come over here, Wolf. No, he's not gonna. He's gonna dog me.
He's gonna dog you now.
But he's at least, you know, his own thing to where he's like, I don't know. He's a good boy. Yeah. But you know, I'll talk to him, and he'll respond to me in a way that is like, yeah, man, I get it, or whatever. And then like I'll go outside, and I've got all kinds of lizards around here. Yeah. Like there will be one lizard. He's like usually sitting on the chair in the morning, right? He does his little push-ups, right? Like, hey, Mr. Lizard. you know, and there'll be other ones, and I'll be standing there just kind of talking to lizards, and then a couple of them will come out and peek and be like, oh, right, and then you're like, well, hey guys, if you could maybe take care of any roaches or bugs, anything you see around here, I really appreciate it, fellas. Right?
Yeah.
Who else is talking to him, telling him thank you?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And what is the actual the vibratory, thing that's coming out of me when I'm being pleasant and kind and respectful? Like, is there going to be some sort of other element, out there that's going to meet that force with some kind of, it's just I don't say love wins, but
Sure.
love conquers all type thing. Like,
Right.
I'll talk to the birds, right? Sometimes, I play piano, I play music and stuff. And,
cool.
I'll have the windows open and I'll be playing piano and I'll hear the birds call, and I'll try and play a little bit like the bird call and then just wait.
Call back to you.
Yeah, man. Who else is playing with the birds?
Right,
I mean, other people. I'm just saying, like,
Sure.
for the birds, like, who else is playing with the birds?
Yeah.
The crows? Oh, crows are so smart. So, I used to live in Seattle, and we had a bunch of crows and a bunch of pigeons, and the crows took over the pigeons, and I had to yell at the crows, like, you guys can't be, killing the pigeons in front of everything. Come on now, get out of here. And, like, you aren't being cool, man.
Yeah.
But then there was kind of my favorite of all this is Mr. Hawk. So I was at, was at this local business, and this hawk landed on this car next to me, right? And I'm like, oh, that's cool, hey, Mr. Hawk.
Yeah.
And then a few days later, the hawk is flying around up here, right? And I'm like, no way. So for a period of time, the hawk is, if I'm driving somewhere in town, I'm looking, and the hawk is up there, or the hawk is around, right?
Yeah.
And so, I was out driving one day, and then I see just on the corner of my eye, I see, and I'm leaning out the window. I'm like, hey, Mr. Hawk,
Yeah,
Mr.
nice.
Hawk,
Nice,
hey, Mr.
man.
Hawk, right?
Yeah.
And, I was telling, a friend that runs a local business, I was in a store, and he goes, I know Mr. Hawk, man. I was like, for real? He goes, yeah. He comes and sits on my fence. He goes, you think it's the same bird? Dude, we only live once.
Right.
I think it is the same bird.
Yeah.
Right? And
That's funny, man. Who would have thought that this is what we'd be talking about? But I do the same thing.
Yeah.
As far as, like, I teach my kids this too about, like, lizards and frogs and animals, and, treat them, you could go out and squish them if you want, but treat it like it's its own thing, and they'll hang around. And sure as shit, man. We get eagles and owls and hawks, because I moved out to the middle of nowhere, but something that, again, I think people lose track of.
Yeah.
They lose track of it.
Yeah, they there was a little snake in this little palm tree out there.
Huh.
And maybe kind of take the snake or remove him or whatever.
Yeah.
But I left the snake, and the snake was chilling on the middle of the branch in the sun, right?
Yeah.
So for a few days, this was his spot. I'd walk by, I'd see the
Catching
snake.
the rays.
Yeah, catching his rays. I'm like, all right, this is your spot. You're fine. Then one day I saw Mr. Hawk,
Ah.
right? And I was out there, and I saw Mr. Hawk up there, and I was like, it's not going to be a good day for you, Mr. Snake. Mr. Snake is gone, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Mr. Hawk came for a visit,
He was hungry.
right? And he saw there was a snake down there who's just resting in the sun,
Yeah.
right? But, it's kind of like, I like Mr. Snake, but if I would have treated Mr. Snake any special or different, then Mr. Hawk wouldn't have had, breakfast or lunch. Right, and then Mr. Hawk is my buddy too, right? But yeah, it's
being in the tech world, man, and that space. What helps you stay connected to nature like that?
like that. It's
Just going out in it.
yeah, like it's when you used to play with, I don't know you, but you used to play with GI Joes in the dirt, and you'd spend an hour or two just setting them up.
Yeah. Is this your chair or something?
See, he's vocal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, minor interruption. My bad. Overheating of a camera. I have to try to figure out how that happened. But you mentioned a couple times jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
How long have you been doing that?
I've been doing jiu-jitsu a little bit over 3 years.
Really?
Yeah. It was I'd never really been in a fight before.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know, you kind of have a disagreement with somebody, or you get like a little adrenaline rush, or I would, and I would be like, I didn't know if it was time for a fight or time to say something back or, whatever it was. And I just got really sick of being so nervous and unsure.
In case it got to that point of a fight.
I don't even know what that point was, or whatever. Like, in case I just had it was all just, I'm not that type of person. It's all just something I avoided. Right. And then it turns out I love it. Right. So, I really tried my first year to go twice a day, 4 or 5 days a week. Always, try and train with people who are, very skilled that would whoop me. And then just after 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 sparring sessions, right? And, after all this stuff, I think a good example is I just got my purple belt. And part of the purple belt, at our school is a pretty big test with at least a couple hundred moves on it. But the thing is, it's any moves that you want. It's like 7 of these, 7 of those, right? So you're like, I only know 1 or 2, right? And then you're going through, and I'm realizing as I'm doing stuff, I'm nervous. My coach, my professor, he's like, Mikel. He goes, that move that you do when I'm here and you push out? He's like, that's an escape. I was like, it is? He's like, yeah, you're not just doing whatever. And I realized, like, oh man, almost everything I'm doing is a technique. Then I was like, oh, maybe that's why you got your purple belt, buddy. Because you went from, whatever spazzing out to now you don't even realize you're doing jiu-jitsu techniques to move around and this and that. But even I'll notice just transitioning from out of the bed or just moving from one place to another. There's jiu-jitsu to life, with people and, the way, emotionally and spiritually, but then even just physically moving through the world, there's jiu-jitsu and ways to move your body or, ways to get around that, people just don't have. People have very little control over their own body.
Body control.
Just even moving it through space, right? Much less manipulating somebody else's body. But people aren't in tune, with I don't know, there's just a way, if I was to get up and just slide my leg over to get up or whatever.
Some people can't do that.
Or even just here to get out there. This is all jiu-jitsu stuff that I would do if I was kind of caught up in something or stuck somewhere I'll find myself flipping out of bed backwards or rolling off the couch over the shoulder or whatever, and as, the muscles build up, it just kind of happens. But, you walk around and it's almost more fun to be in your body, to use your body. It's kind of like the dexterity, with fishing, right? So I've gone fishing probably 10 times in my life that I can remember, right? Or, and every time it's time to cast or whatever, and I'll get that one. What's the one where you put your thumb on it?
Bait caster?
Yeah, I think so, right? And I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it this time.
Without a backlash?
Right? Every time I'm like, dang, and I just don't have that touch, right? But when you do have that touch, that subtlety, I'm sure you can get it in just the right spot.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't hurt your arms. Doesn't feel some awkward weight. You can make it hit at just the right thing, and then the way that you can bring it back through the water and make it move around, or all of that technique that your body built up with just the tiniest little, reinforcements on this or that muscle, to be able to do that then, and take it to an arena where you are taking a human being and taking away their ability to move, or move freely in this. This is a big, beautiful world, and all of a sudden, not a car or a rock or a building or a tree, but another one of you, another people's, has taken away all of your freedom. With just their hands, right? And there's ways that you can fold bodies or move bodies or whatever, where you can severely restrict a person's movement. Even a person way bigger than you, I'm going to say a girl way bigger than you, but person way bigger than you, I'll attack quadrants of somebody's body. So a bigger guy, my goal is to attack this region of him with my lower body and all of my strength.
Mm.
So I'm fighting all of this stuff, right? All of this, I can't beat that.
Right.
You give me one of these, right?
Yeah.
So then, you know, and then if you even get them to a submission, you know, they're saying, hey, if I don't tap right now, you're going to kill me. If I don't tap right now, you're going to break something of mine.
Right.
Right? And, you know, not a power thing, but so much as like, hey, man, as a human being, did you learn how to use your body to make somebody else say uncle? Right? And then you think about like, oh, you know, that guy, you punch somebody, you're instantly at a level 10, right? There's no coming back from, right? If I grab somebody, right, get control of him, come on, buddy, come on. Maybe it's kind of soft rear naked choke, just controlling, right? Come on, buddy, calm down now. All right, calm down. That's a cool skill too, not to have to go to like blunt force in order to resolve a situation.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, people do all this stuff, and man, you could have yourself a little roll and take someone's back and go for your little rear naked choke, and someone can just pull out the little pocket knife and stab you right in the side, right? And so just even fighting or conflict between human beings, that's terrible. I hope it never, ever happens, or, you know, I hope it's something I don't ever have to deal with in that sense, right?
But if you had to, at least you have some body control and the ability to control someone else's body, that if you're in a close situation, even with the bigger person, you have it. Well, it's there.
Who knows, right? But, you know, I've heard, I heard recently, like, people, like, maybe your traditional karate or something like that, you know, when they're training, you know, they don't get to go 100%, right? And even, you know, I've seen MMA guys, you know, girls spar and go pretty hard, but, you know, you can't go 100% all the time, right? Yeah. Well, in jiu-jitsu, you can go almost 100% all the time. So you get used to that adrenaline. Sure. You get used to that sort of situation. You're just like I'm in a fight like that 2 or 3 times a day, 3 to 5 times a week for years now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm used to it. I enjoy it. I have clarity. Time moves slow. Like, man, time moves so slow when you are in the zone in jiu-jitsu, and like it is like I think they say it's high intensity problem solving, or
with dire physical consequences or something like that.
Yeah, it really is. Like, and then there's so much at the next level. There's so much humor in what you did or didn't do. And there are these moments in jiu-jitsu where no joke was made, nothing funny was trying to be done, but the way that I grabbed and then what you grabbed for, what you moved for, and in the context of the situation, it will be hilarious to both guys. Like, hilarious. Like, you
that only you two would know. Or other jiu-jitsu people, but in that situation.
Hilarious. Yeah. Right? Like, so there's a guy, he's one of my better kind of opponents. We're really equally matched. We hadn't got a chance to, you know, roll together in quite a while. And he was on his way out the other night. He's like, Mike, you got a second? I'm like, oh, I was trying not to make eye contact with you, which is a thing. I was like, all right. So the coach sets a timer for 3 minutes, and we get started. And the first thing he does is he stands up, and I'm like, well, hold on. First of all, either we both start sitting down or on our knees, or we stand up for the death match. If one of us stands up, like, we both started sitting down, you instantly went to stand up. Like, oh, slow down here, bud. But there's, you know, kind of a reaction. I like to play sitting down or kind of on my back. And so we instantly put each other into a neutralized position to where if either one of us makes a decision from there, there's going to be consequences.
Someone can capitalize on that decision.
Yeah. And we're just sitting there. We're not straining all the way, but enough of a loose grip where it should be appropriate. So it's almost like I'm holding you, but I'm not holding you. I don't have control of you, but you know that if you do anything at all, I'm about to have control of something, and then going both ways, right? So are you going to get the control of me and take the chance, right? So it's just this 20 seconds, you know, where we're just like...
You in a gi?
Yeah, and this was in a gi. Yeah. You know, we usually don't make eye contact, But we're sitting there and I'm laughing and we're laughing, and the tension hasn't released. And I was like, listen, somebody's gonna have to make someone tired today. He's like, no, I know that you're this and this, right? Like, and then the next position it goes to is another kind of thing where it's another 20 seconds of just kind of no movement and like just checking, going down the checklist, like, all right. And then there was a moment where, I went to make a move, then he went to capitalize it he went to get into mount, right? And so as he's going into mount, I'm on my back, I feel him coming up on my chest, and I'm like, oh no, this isn't good. And then I see this little space under his legs, right? And so I shoot my arm under his legs, and my head gets caught, and he realizes what I'm doing, and I push, and I come out the back door underneath his legs in the back. So I'm behind him, and I've got his gi in my hand and his pants, but my face is here, and he's like this, and I'm just back there, and I got him, and it's a weird position, but I know that I've got control of him in some sort of way that's better.
Yeah.
Right? And he just, after 5 or 10 seconds, he turns and he goes, and he looks at me and he's smiling, right? And, all this stuff is hilarious because we've been in 2 different positions.
Yeah.
And it's been a total standstill, right? But what was trying to be set up or what was not trying to be set up, just from when you feel like a knee move or just this here, you're like, oh, right? Something like that. And then, so what ended up happening is I got out of there and he ended up turtle, which is on his knees. Then I jumped over his body and I went for a belly down arm bar, threw my legs in. Usually, I don't go for those hard with teammates. This is where your opponent is on the ground and their belly is down and you have their arm and you're...
So you got a lot of leverage up there.
A lot. You can break somebody's arm.
Yeah.
Like, you're not trying to do that to your team.
Right.
I got you.
Yeah,
oh, I didn't get you with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever.
I could have broke it.
Whatever. But you kind of let go or whatever. And, the real kind of then more advanced level is that even if I did had it and you recognize I had it, if I'm able to let it go in time to where we can just go ahead and keep on playing anyway, that's the real, like, oh, you got me, no big deal, keep moving. Okay, you got me there. Oh, I got you there. Oh, you got me there. That would have been good. All right. But to not even have to talk about all that and to have that moment. And then after that, then I transition back where in that neutral position, the buzzer goes off. And we were just laughing, right? Because it was like all this whole struggle, just a couple little basic things. And you look at other people roll, it's active the whole time, all kinds of movement. And then here we are for like 3 minutes, just
So who's going to tire out?
right? Like, not tire out necessarily, but who's going to make a mistake, right? And it turns out the mistake that he made was not a mistake. It was in him making the right decision, but it was within my mistake that I found opportunity.
An opening.
I see how jiu-jitsu works.
Yeah. It's listening to people talk about it, and obviously through podcasts and things, you can hear hours and hours of conversation. It kind of opens up my thought process to it a little bit. But it seems like there's some of the more humble people when you would think they'd be these, ego-driven people walking around, but they've been humbled so many times, I think, during that process of white belt to learning to getting choked for the first time. It's got to do something for you from just a humility standpoint also in the beginning.
Yeah, it was, there will be people who will come every now and then, and it'll be like a white belt, and you'll be super exhausted. And it's a thing to, they say a black belt becomes a white belt when he's tired, right? So, it's a thing to roll with somebody of a lower skill level when you're so exhausted you can't defend yourself. That's like a thing you can and should be doing, right? So you sometimes work with somebody who's new to the gym at that point, and they'll be like, oh, I got him. And you're like, you didn't get me, bro. I'm tired, and I know that I'm safe, and here, you got me, but...
And it's a learning thing for them, too.
Well, that's the sad part, is that some of them will stay, and others that maybe have a thing like that happen, they'll go, oh, I don't need to come back here. I got that guy, right? And at the same time, on your side, as someone who does this every day and does this all the time, you can feel within just a half a second how advanced someone is at jiu-jitsu. I'm telling you, you just put your hand on them or they put their hand on you, or you can tell in just a brief moment how good they are, right? And so, these people that come in off the street, no matter how hard they fight or whatever, dude, it's like a child. I mean, it doesn't matter if somebody's big or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, if you have a foundation in jiu-jitsu and another human being doesn't, it's like, and I'm not trying to put anything out there, but it's like almost 99% chance or better that you're going to disable them in some way or have control of them. It doesn't, a real big guy or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a thing called a heel hook where you grab his leg, or, there's things like that. Like, it's funny how much of an equalizer it is, but it's so sad when people, have the wrong attitude, and then you'll see people come in who are like tough guys, right? That you would
something to prove.
Well, no, like I was always intimidated by guys with cool tattoos and, they all look, tough looking guys, and then they're just as much of, they just don't know anything else like anyone else. Right. And, they're like, all of that whole persona is gone when there's nothing you can do to get away from me. Like, you have to and to see people either go, you know what, like, I'm going to be humble here and learn, and this little girl is going to beat me up, and this 12-year-old kid, and this old man, and this, and then the other people, it's a very small percentage who are like, just think that they're all that, and you can feel it in their body. It's one thing to kind of posture in the world and talk junk or whatever, but then it's a whole other thing when we're fighting.
When you're rolling,
Yeah, when we're rolling, and like there's nothing that you can do to get away to make it stop aside from quit. But when you're in a roll, and the world doesn't matter, everything else is blocked out, and man, it's and it is also, like you mentioned, it is quite a feeling to be victorious and be the one who's dominant in those things, right? Like, what a thing, man. This other human being is fully resisting you, and you've just asserted your will on them, right? And then they've just there's just nothing like it. It's
I can't imagine, man.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, I want to go and tap people and I'm going to submit them. Like, I don't even, my first year I knew like 30 submissions. Now I do like 3 or 4.
That's all you need.
Yeah, dude,
just get real good at
just
them.
do them from different spots or whatever. I make stuff up. I know this arm don't bend this way or whatever.
Yeah.
If I see that it's stuck, I'm going to just tug on it a little bit.
Yeah.
This is like more about the principle, but man, the thrill of, and the thrill, I don't want to say thrill, but just the feeling of being victorious in sparring and fighting and defending yourself is just nothing, it's a thing that people need to fight to know, but just fighting in itself is like, it's fighting, and people don't fight anymore, necessarily, or like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think
I don't think I've never been in a fight either. I've never been. I've had to stop a couple, but I've never been the one that started it or the recipient of it. I've had to step in a few times here and there on certain occasions, but I don't know if that's a way you should navigate life, getting in fights all the time.
See, you're talking about it from a negative way, right? When you say fight, it's in the context.
I'm talking about a street fight,
right?
Where like if somebody hits you in the back of the head and then you hit your head on the concrete, you might not make it out of that. Or like you said, somebody stabs you in a situation where you're arguing over what? Something stupid.
Right.
But to gain what you gain out of a martial art like jiu-jitsu, it seems like it can help you in a lot of different aspects in life, not just knowing how to control your body and someone else's.
Well, I'm even saying down to like my best friend, one of my best friends comes over, we play video games, obviously. But we've started fighting. We started going in the gym and rolling and training. We started fighting. So that's when I'm like, this word is so charged and this has these associations. But what about like, hey, do you fight your buddies? Oh yeah, we all fight each other all the time. Like,
or did you fight your brother back in the day?
But that's different. Like, oh, you fight your brother, but let's voluntarily fight for fun as a sport.
Yeah,
right?
for fun.
But then how can we refine that? Well, let's do grappling then. Well, why grappling? Cause bro, I don't want to punch you, and like if I do this or whatever, I don't want to do all that. But
or the damage to your brain that this could cause.
Damage. But let's do grappling because we can go almost just as hard, and it's, arguably almost all the same thing. And if you have me here like this, it's not like you can't do that in real life. So like just that aspect of life, like just fighting as a human being to human, wrestling, right? It's I wish those things I would have gotten a hold of sooner, but now as an adult and kind of having the free will and choice to go into it, man, it's so much fun, and it's so much more fun to me than running down the road for an hour, or being on a treadmill, or even yoga. I started with yoga, but like, dude, an hour of just no conversation and being that, I think maybe that's the point, but that's not fun to me. But this fighting thing, this jiu-jitsu, grappling, this is a lot of fun. It gets you in great shape.
I like the idea of it helping you be calm under pressure. I got to imagine you have to stay calm in these situations to find those angles that you're able to find. Like, you got to stay calm under pressure, which again, that can help you in a lot of situations in life, learning that skill.
Yeah, it's I play from the bottom, and I dare to say I kind of have a skill set for being on the bottom when people are trying to attack you when you're exhausted. Not good for fighting in real life because you don't want to be on the bottom.
No.
But if you're at the gym and this is your thing you do, I kind of have, basically, if I lose the advantage I'm going for, then I end up in a situation where, I'm either on my back or my side and someone is attacking me. It's usually a more advanced kind of upper belt or even my level sometimes, but they'll be attacking and going for moves. And at this point, I have felt so many of them that I kind of know, okay, he's going to try and slam his foot around my face for the arm bar. So I'll feel this start to move, and I'll just go, and just push it back. So I can get a few minutes. And then when they, get frustrated, they get tired, frustrated, and they have to make a move. And there's all a series of moves that I make from the bottom defensively to kind of save myself and to get out of it, right? But you kind of build these habits of, do I fight off my back? Do I fight, this way or that way? But just within the way that you choose to fight, I'll be on the bottom, and the only thing to do down there is to relax, right? Like, there was a guy I used to train with. I think, man, respectfully, is one of his features, but he was very, very, very big guy, right? And the reason I say that is he knew that I was having trouble with the pressure. Jiu-jitsu is about pressure, putting people under pressure, making them claustrophobic so they tap. So he would lay on me on the mat.
Using his weight and size.
He'd be like, come on, Bubba. He's like, I'm going to lay on you, and I just want you to relax like you're in bed. Like, just relax like you're going to sleep. And this guy, man, it sounds silly, right? I'm going to lay on you, Bubba. This guy laid on me. Nah, man, this guy laid on me, used all his weight, and did this a few times over a period of time to where when he laid on me and crushed me with his weight, I'm just hanging out under my buddy.
You were comfortable.
Yeah, I'm comfortable. Like, it's my buddy. It's funny. It's awkward or whatever. But now at this point, I'm comfortable, right? I can do this all day.
In a situation where most people would be highly uncomfortable.
Man, I've been in situations then with kind of death match roles that are meaningful to your life. Not a competition or anything, but just the context.
Sure.
Where I've been kind of scrunched, squished, all this stuff, had knee on my face, this and that, in very, very bad position. But I've been there so many times that I'm just like,
just another day.
We had this new guy come to the gym, older guy, you can tell. But the young, crazy guy is rolling with him, and the older guy is just relaxed like that. And he's just looking over at me. He's smiling and winking. The kid is like, the old guy ends up on his knees like this with his arm out. And the kid goes behind. He's like in his early 20s. Goes around and is trying to choke him, all this stuff. And the old dude looks over. He goes, right? Like, they're like, all right, this guy gets it, right? Like, it's called maybe flow rolling then, is where you roll with somebody and you don't really resist, right? but you exchange moves and technique and information. So you can roll with someone and not resist what they're doing, but there is a point where it's like, oh, you got me there. That would have got me. But what about this? Oh, this or that. And you can push, and as soon as you start to feel a fight, it's too much, right? But there's a way to do all of these moves and all this stuff with another person that's totally conversational, right? And so that calm and everything, that comes from, I don't think that's from being a calm person, but I think jiu-jitsu does get you calm because you have clarity and control of this thing where you clearly had chaos before. Now it's slowing down. The main thing I tell everybody is breathe. Like I can't any move I try and teach you is going to be a wrong detail. I probably already said something wrong, right? But I can tell you to breathe and calm down, which is going to get you more oxygen, which is going to do all this stuff, and it's going to allow you to learn. So maybe trying to isolate. Everything we've talked about. I think kind of my personal theme is isolating the things that kind of matter the most, and showing love to those things, and having faith that the yield in the greater system is going to come out of all that. Like if I'm passionate enough about my customers that I'm in tears that I looked at an app, right? And then if I'm so focused on jiu-jitsu that the only move that I've come down to that's important is, and that's actually not even the thing. I always say, if you need to catch your breath, you should blow out as hard as you can. So most people are like, they try to relax that way, but I'm
clear their lungs first.
Yeah, if you force so much air out of your lungs that it's painful. If you force your body is going to be like, what are you doing? Right? So it doesn't really care. But if you just go all the way, your body, and then you're forced to take a real, genuine breath, right? But now that's all you're tricking yourself, right? But, jiu-jitsu being about breathing, relaxing. Like I got in trouble with my coach. I was like, coach, I'm trying to fall asleep on the bottom while I'm being attacked. That's been my goal for a few months now.
To be that comfortable where you could fall asleep.
He's like, that's stupid. That's dangerous, blah, blah, blah. But then I'm like, well, it's kind of like, and just to get that comfortable where you could fall asleep and someone is trying to choke you, right? And someone is trying to armbar you and do all this stuff. And you're just, just there as like, I wish I could take that zen and that peace to the other aspects of my life.
But you haven't been able to?
Well, maybe it's in process. I can see growing. Yeah. But I wish that I could, in the sense that jiu-jitsu is that pure to where you can see, you're like, man, I don't fight big guys head on anymore. I let them come at me. And when they come at me, I just shift their weight. Right? How can I do that in life? Right? Like, oh, I just missed an opportunity for jiu-jitsu in life, but at least I see it again, just like a roll.
You're recognizing it,
yeah. Kind of mastery, and you've got Musashi.
The Book of Five Rings.
Yeah. Everything in there is covered, from music to like the way you eat your food to your martial arts and things like that. And I think these kind of components of living are. It's hard to make a disconnect, between them. But even, I found with jiu-jitsu, like, I sleep less, I need less sleep. I need less food. Maybe 1.5 times a day in most cases. Sleep maybe 4 to 6 hours in most cases. I haven't worked out since I started jiu-jitsu. I'm in better shape than I've ever been. So, it's like if there's some chemical set in your body that you respond to, whether personally or just as a human being, I think if you can find, hey, here's my natural state of hunger, because I wouldn't have been catching food all the time anyway.
Right.
Here's my natural state of a physical contact or physical conflict, right? Here's my natural state of mental challenge with work. This is just a little more overwhelming, a little more difficult than I'd like, but I can still do it. I think that everybody has kind of their best life. And I think that the kind of measuring systems and of the social media, what am I living, and food and what diet and all this stuff. There's so many things to compare yourself to and to chase, but at the same time, with SEO and being able to search and find, you can really become your own person in a maximum way. Right. And I think that's what I was trying to say earlier, is that the real superpower then is being able to find and sort this information in this whole network, and being able to say that person's junk, that's garbage, that's fake news, or this or that, or, that's the element of truth, and to pull, and, you are really at a disadvantage. You're either in or you're out.
Right.
Because you either are off the grid and you're eating whole food and you're hunting and you're not using electricity. You're either off the grid, which is, great in its own thing, or if you're going to be plugged in, like you need to have mastery to be able to get this information. And I'm even talking about your income. Like, do you know how to find a good deal online?
Right.
Like, do you know what words to type in to check for a coupon? Like, do you know that that Apple iCloud reset email that you got, did you not see the typo in the first line? Because now you really did get your email hacked. Right? Like, do you it's just as dangerous of a digital world, in its own way, whether it's getting sucked into porn or, social media addiction or, whatever it is.
Seems like the internet plays to that a little bit of people's, not their dark side, but whatever that is in their brain, that the majority of the internet, I think, is used to fill that need for some people.
Yeah, man. Life is hard. And the natural state of nature is, I think it's a 90% failure rate. So you go into a sales job, they're like, oh, only 10% of deals. I wish somebody would have told me that. It doesn't matter if I'm a salesman or a ladybug. I only got a 10% chance at most things being successful anyway. You know what I mean? I wish somebody would have told me that.
But man, success is so subjective to the individual. Some people's success is to make a lot of money. Some people's success is to live to 100 years old.
So that's poison too, I think, in its own way. I grew up, I was, in the gifted programs. I was outstanding athlete. There's a newspaper article in there of me on the front page of the newspaper just for being myself.
What
as a
sport?
12-year-old kid. Football, baseball. In my grades.
Okay.
Yeah. So they just put a kid in the newspaper on the front page. Here's the thing is, like, you grow up, man, and after football games, you're slapping hands. Coaches are like, I'm going to see you on TV one day. And you hear again and again, I'm going to see you on TV. You're so talented, which they don't say anymore.
Right.
Or, and you get this gifted program and you get all these different things. I'm not looking for sympathy, but, I grew up in a way where everyone told me that I was going to be successful, that it was pretty much guaranteed. For, the way that I look, talk, act, you're guaranteed going to make it. Man, it is not guaranteed.
No.
And that was almost poison in the sense that, number one, it's real easy to feel like your whole life is invalidated when you don't have all those things that the people said, oh, you're going to have that one day,
sure.
Right? And then the other part of it, man, is that there is so much pressure for me then as an overachiever, as a gifted kid growing up. There is so much pressure for me to perform in every single little area.
Who's putting on that pressure, though, man?
Well, it's me.
On yourself.
Right? But it's from, and I know, but it's from built up over time going like, well, I'm usually a winner, right? So, oh, you didn't win this one? And then to win a contest, like a contest on the radio or something, and not be surprised. But not be surprised because like, oh, I'm so lucky, I'm so fortunate. I think maybe winning or competing has become such a standard thing that I'm not even surprised if I win a drawing or a giveaway anymore. It's like I'm so have been so kind of focused on achieving, winning, graduate high, graduate with this grade, do this, get the company here, because that's what that kind of top tier does. And you're like, hold on a second. What is all this? What is all this junk? Like, what is all this? And I think that internet is that kind of reinforcement, kind of go back to that well, and I compare myself, and you can, turn off like you do. But, it is amazing that anyone, I don't say anyone, it's amazing anyone ever makes it out the front door or back in the front door with just, man, as we talked about all kinds of stuff, but we haven't talked about so much different stuff, dude. Like, what about people who love to scuba dive? You know, what about people who do totally different stuff with their life? And, like, it is just such a, I went to Dubai, and it was my first international trip, and I'm on a plane, and you see everybody in these groups of people based off their ethnicity. And you're like, gosh, well, back home, this would be considered racist or not quota or whatever. It was the greatest flight, man. People were talking here in this group. At night, the dads would meet up, and we drink this banana liqueur or whatever. But, you're looking, and you're like, wow, everybody looks, sounds, smells. Everything is different, and everyone is together. I love people. Yeah. Wow, that's cool. That's neat. Oh, I didn't know. Wow. Can I look at you a little bit? That's cool. That looks like a comfortable outfit. What is that thing called? Oh, that's pretty neat, bro. Instead of, what we're kind of used to. And it's like, man, it's such a gift and such a shame that it's all just such a flash. But there is so much. It's like, slow down and talk to the birds, dude, go outside, go fishing, turn the computer off, right? But, I don't want to
catch a sunrise.
Yeah, I don't want to invalidate anybody's existence
of course
or anything, but all this stuff was just meant to replace endorphins that we were supposed to be getting outside anyway.
Sure.
And
that's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah. So, what I do and everything is, I'm just trying to get by, with what I know how to do. And I think I got lucky because, I called the business media, and now media is everything that comes out of that little tiny phone.
Sure.
Right. And so kind of justified, the whole thing, and, chess club, 3 moves ahead, or thinking moves ahead. Sure. Right. Kind of all comes together, and, it's really neat to where I don't really have to, I don't have to work so much as I just got to exist. Like, this is all stuff I'm going to play with anyway.
Right.
But, yeah, man, it's
But for me, the problem became you got to make money. I think for a lot of people, that's what they're chasing. They're chasing money for different reasons. I'll speak for myself here. Like you said, we're not trying to oust anybody's life. The more I tried to chase making more money, the less happier I got, because I got to have money. I got to do this. And there was some status associated to making money, obviously, because you can have different things or fly all over, whatever the case may be. But for me now, it's like time is more important, dude. Like, and I've said this a few times, but that's how I try to live my life, that, damn, we're just so fortunate. Your odds of even being born, let alone being born here in America, dude. I mean, you'd win the lottery 100 times with the odds.
I'm the fastest swimmer out of millions, right?
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah, the fastest sperm swimmer.
True. Yeah. So are you.
Yeah. But to connect at the right time, to be born, and again, just to be born in a place where we are free versus to be born somewhere where governments are freaking executing people still today, right? It's just, I try to live, and then having kids really made me realize that, shit, I'm way too selfish of a person. And I need to be more in tune of what's happening now. And then I met Adam Lowry, the guy that I was telling you about earlier. And he was telling me that depression and anxiety, they teach you depression's from the past and anxiety is about the future, right? These are things I've never really thought about. But I think too many people live in those places, whether it's the past or whether it's for the future. What's that?
That's pretty wise.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, dang, okay. So if you live more for today, maybe you won't. And I know, I'm sure there's some chemical imbalances that people have that cause some things in their life too. But living more for today seems like a better attitude, at least for me and in my life.
Well, the past doesn't really exist and the future doesn't really exist. then that also means at the same time you can go back to the past and you can go into the future and deal with those things. And that may be kind of the negation of not dealing with them, living in the moment. But definitely that that fabric of, like, I had a real solid deja vu yesterday, right? It was with my business partner, Sam, I was telling you about. And I was looking at it and I was like, all right, we're on track. We're on the right track, right? It's just kind of, there's some sort of fabric to this stuff, man. Everybody has had, I think, deja vu.
Sure.
Or a dream that seemed this or seemed that, or maybe, an experience that, opened up their perspective, a little bit. Yeah, man. If I could say anything about, any of this stuff, it's just that, people just need company, like like love on each other. I know it sounds silly, but like nobody ever like just loves on each other. Like, it's so much structure of posturing. I know this is all kind of the typical type of thing, but there's so much posturing online, right? There's so much posturing in position. Like, I was I was so broke for so long, man. Like, I wanted to, at a certain point when I was younger, I had kind of said to myself, maybe subconsciously, man, I wonder what it's like to be like really broke. Because here I am, I'm supposed to be this, successful, and I have all these gifts. I'm not, stupid. I have all the gifts, but what is the other side like? And like, I was living in a shop, and I didn't have much money for food. I wasn't very clean. It was in a dangerous part of town to where, I couldn't go out after dark, and it was like, it wasn't the worst, but it was really hard, man. Like, it was really, really hard. And, to kind of build up from there, or like, dude, I remember they had this cash and carry in San Diego, the salt and pepper wings. Like, I remember just having the quarter to get a wing, or having $2 enough to get a few. Just how good they were. And it was just like the only like whole food that was hot and fresh I could get. Like, man, it was so good. I just appreciated it so much, and I almost had to save up for it. Right? You're talking like a $2 meal. Right. Now I'm like 26. A college degree. I've worked on American Idol in LA, and I've worked on Kanye, and I've done all this different stuff, and I really appreciate those times. It was really tough. Those times come and go and everything, but man, I know what it's like to like we didn't. There's context, but my friend and I, Ilya, we slept underneath a tarp in front of an abandoned Walmart in the rain, because we're on tour, right? And the context of everything, it was either him and I really, really, really suffer. You're talking about like sleeping like this, literally cramped in after sitting for whatever, and like just to have our spot to be there or whatever. Either spend the night like this, or another night with this guy farting and all this or whatever, and this and that, or man, how about we just go sleep over there in front of that underneath that thing here. So it was that that night we got out, and we were just like, whatever, brother. Like, this is gonna be better than that. I'd rather do this with you than have to put up with that in order to get where I want to be. Right? So we slept under this tarp, and it was raining, and we were on the concrete, and I ended up moving right up the street from there years later, and I'd never even I was living in California, and then I moved back home, and then when I moved to Seattle, I moved actually on the same road that Walmart was on. I went for a drive one day, and talk about deja vu. I looked over and I'm like, what? I live a few blocks away from this
where
memory.
I slept on the street.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, but that.
Do you think that people need some struggle and they need some adversity to eventually get to the point to where they can appreciate more? It seems like there's a lot of people, whether they come out of certain circumstances, athletes are an easy way to go, right? Their only outlet is basketball, so they play basketball every day, so they escape their abusive past or whatever. Then they become the greatest champions ever, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Do you think that people need some adversity like you've had to eventually get to this point of, I don't know, clarity, better understanding? Because without that, maybe you'd never get to that point.
Well, that's the story of Siddhartha, or Buddha, right?
I don't know.
Is that they kept him isolated for either first 12 years or 24 years. His family kept him, I may be getting it wrong, kept him basically in an estate where he never even saw anybody old. He didn't even know that people aged. Yeah, they hid that. And the following is the story of enlightenment. After he left that, he went and sat under a tree, or whatever. But that is common. But I met. Have you ever heard of the Machine Gun Preacher? He had a Netflix documentary.
I think I didn't see it, but the name sounds familiar. Machine Gun Preacher.
He goes to different places in Africa and rescues children from warlords that kidnap them. And he's was from a biker gang right up the road, or used to either in Leesburg or Freeland Park or something. He used to run around. Yeah, because he came to this church in town as a guest speaker one night to a small men's group. And real life.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, that's the church.
Yeah,
real life church.
The
Okay,
church,
yeah.
So
different spelling of real. Yeah.
That's what I say, dude, about the world being connected in these ways, right?
Interesting.
So he came and he was telling stories about how his past and how it was rough, but he's telling stories about being out there. And man, you go to visit and they'll tell me, maybe someone like me, take a fake Rolex. Because if you get kidnapped, they don't care about money. They don't care whatever. That's your best chances. And I'm like, kidnapped? And they're like, yeah, we have a security company. They'll send us updates in your security agency. What are you talking about? Like, I know, right? That's crazy. I lost it again. What were we on?
We're talking about path to enlightenment. Oh man, I might have lost it that time too.
Oh man,
Yeah, I was saying. We were talking about people coming from adversity, and you were saying.
Oh yeah. Anyway, Machine Gun Preacher.
Yeah.
So he's. I was just trying to explain. It is kind of scary out there. Like, everyone has an AK. That's at a public place. There's a guard with an AK. I may not have a bullet. Almost every place has barbed wire fence around it. So you look outside and you can't appreciate that here. No. You can actually see. So I went up to this guy afterwards and I was like, hey man, I gotta be honest with you. I was like, everything that you've gone through and all the stuff you're doing and everything to, kind of get closer to God or honor God or however you want to say it, like, none of this stuff happened to me. Like, I have had all these opportunities. This has happened. This got changed. That got changed. And I almost feel bad. And he looks at me, and this is a genuine tough looking dude. Like, and he's like, brother, that's the best testimony you could have. And I was like, all right. And he's like, so you're telling me that, you do have this going on, and you do have. So what I said is, is true or whatever. And you already got the blessing, or you're living it or walking in it or whatever. He's like, that don't sound to me like something. He's like, that's the best story you could have. So, at the same time, I've seen, it's one thing to come from diversity and just, have to struggle your way up. But man, I would like to think that somewhere, and maybe it's just kind of, I'd like to think that somewhere that some people are just able to love their kids up, and life is able to, love people up. It's, there's always the Cain and Abel and all these different things,
Sure.
but it's, I think that's really kind of my favorite thing. Then if I could say is like these moments where, I don't know, people, you're able to teach a child or able to help a person or where nobody is looking, and actually live life like that whole thing of, you remember grown-ups, how nice it was to have a cool grown-up.
Mm-hmm.
And you also remember creepy grown-ups.
Sure.
But you don't remember them until later.
Right.
You just didn't really like them. And you're like...
That guy was creepy. Or a girl was creepy.
Yeah, they're very creepy.
Yeah.
Like, men and women.
Sure.
And you're like...
But when you find a cool one...
Yeah, a cool grown-up. Yeah, a
Yeah.
cool grown-up is like... was the best.
Yeah.
They're nice to you. They so... I think that's my favorite thing out of all of this stuff that I've experienced or whatever. It has helped me be a cool grown-up. Like, yeah, I can play that sport with you and I can show you something, or let me teach you something about that, or let me get this, like, all of this stuff, like, it just is, for me, is just let me be a great uncle, a great godfather. Like, I think if you do any of this stuff and you accomplish this or that, or adjustment for people's life situation, but if it's not about just being a cool grown-up for just a little kid who's trying to just play without before he's had to do all that stuff, right? So I think that stuff does happen, but the thing, that the peripheral conversation there, I think, is this kind of, for kids, kind of keeping the world and maintaining it in such a way that little kids can play.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because what is the negative ramification of all of that? Like, it's pure, right? So, man, that's like, talking about SEO and this and all that, but, you got to make money.
Of course.
Like, and to make money, though, then, it took me 10 years to really make the type of income, that I was told I would make as a kid, right?
So you're trying to live up to this expectation that was
stupid. And so for years, man, like, there are quite a few years where I've made almost no money being in business, or very, very little, to go from charging, I'll say a $300 a month retainer to an $18,000 a month retainer for almost the same thing, right? It's just like the grind of, like, am I worth it? Am I a fraud? Am I an imposter?
Oh, that imposter syndrome sinking in a little bit.
All that. And then, am I worth what I'm charging? Like, am I worth what I really want?
Damn, that's some internal struggle right there.
Yeah, man. But then even as a marketer, right, once I actually get the deal, I have to get results. So it doesn't ever go away.
You got to live up to it.
Are the leads coming in? Why aren't the leads coming in? What are the sales like? That's why I was checking Rabbi Levy's thing. Yeah. Right? And so you can kind of see where the sin entered into the kind of that too much focus. And man, that's what I'm talking about, is like all these games to get results and perform and all this stuff. Like, just let me be a failure for a minute, please. Like, give me a break. Like, I got this golden tee over here, and my best friend, one of my best buddies, I beat him. Like, we had this long running tournament, and I talked such horrible trash to him, right? And he talked such horrible trash to me. Like, it is really, really, really good stuff. But I've been losing for the past 5 or 6 times, and I don't like it. And but man, I kind of, I sit here and I'm like a loser, and he talks trash, and I get the big lip, right? And then if I win the slightest, I turn up. But to be honest with you, man, like, I kind of like losing and get my butt whooped. I'm not some master, whatever. Obviously, I'm not perfect or anything, but as like I said, like, there's just so much competition in areas where there's performance that sometimes it is nice just to be a loser.
Sure.
And I don't. This sounds horrible, dude. like everyone else, like just let me be a normal person.
Yeah.
Like just give me a break, please. Like, all the like the times of, oh, Michael can do it, or where's Mike, or whatever. It's like I just want a break.
Sure.
Just enough with all this. And if you just turn it off for a day, dude, and you're not gonna get evicted today.
Right.
You're not gonna. I mean, it might turn your water off today, but
right, something like
you're
that.
You're not gonna get evicted today, man. Like, like none of this stuff, matters. Like, just can we just chill out for a minute? And like one thing I've been working on is not feeling bad about taking naps or sitting still. Sometimes I'll just sit still.
And you used to feel bad about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you were wasting.
Yeah.
Or you weren't being as productive as maybe you should be?
Yeah. Like I got all these video games in here, and like I can't even play them sometimes, right? Because I'm like, oh, I should be making a beat, because at least a beat I can turn into, money, and at least a beat is art. And I'm like, shut up. Like, stop. Like, who?
That's why I like to smoke weed, man. It helps me shut that off and focus more on, whatever it is I'm doing. I can forget about the other stuff.
Well, I mean, the cannabis then is like, first of all, I want to say that in Florida, there being a medical market, I moved to California. Part of that was to have access to the medicine. I moved to Seattle. Part of that is to have access to the medicine. And to give you some idea, people take Adderall.
Right.
Very, very, very effective, and very, very obviously chemically, right? And you can feel,
I've never done it, but it seems like it puts the brain in at a different level.
Did you see Limitless?
Yeah.
It's like that.
A limitless pill.
It is. It's like that for, it's
a short amount of time, or?
The first time I had Adderall, I worked on a beat. I make electronic music for 23 hours straight. I remember I was in front of the computer. It was one of the most complex, best beats that I'd ever made, and it took all my music making to the next level, because I had never been able to make anything like that. And then you're like, why can't I do this every day? And then the next day it works a little bit less than this and this, and you're like, oh, this is like any other drug. Like, it's it's cool to be able to focus and be in the zone, and you're like, why doesn't my brain focus like this all the time anyway? Right? I don't know why it doesn't. There must be a reason, but then, I'm in LA and I go to the store for the first time, and the girl, she looks like Jenny from Forrest Gump, and she's behind a jewelry case almost with different flowers in. And she goes, what would you like? And she opens up a menu, like a Cheesecake Factory menu. And then she uses chopsticks to point at the different things on the menu. And then she's explaining to me, she's like, do you want an indica or a sativa or a hybrid? And I was like, what does that mean? She's like, well, sativas give you energy and make you focus. And I'm like, oh, that's crazy. And she's like, and then the indicas are what make you sit on the couch. And I was like, all that I've ever heard my entire life is that it's going to make you sit on the couch.
Yeah.
What is this other one you're telling me about? And it was Super Trainwreck was the strain she gave me. I remember the next morning, so to get to work, I would drive up towards the Hollywood sign, because I lived on the road that went to the Hollywood sign, go through Burbank to get to the studio. And so when you come through the Hollywood Hills and you come out on the Burbank side, like the valley opens up and stuff, I had my sunroof open. I had the windows open, and it was it E.T. where he's like, no, Never Ending Story.
Oh.
Where he's like, he's on Falcor, and he's like, he's so happy. I had my arms up, and I was like yelling. I was so full of energy and happy and focused and in the zone. And it was this variation of cannabis in the sativa family. I had no idea.
And this was your first experience.
This is my first experience smoking something
that's not regs or something that came off the
There's something that had cannabinoids and terpenes that gave me energy, focus, right, creativity, And I was
in
like,
a plant.
in a plant,
Yeah.
right? So I'm like, oh. But then these different markets not available, right? But so that it's available in Florida, and then the aspects of the medicine you have, with indicas, a day where you can't turn your brain off. Okay, you can have your whatever your Ambien or whatever it is, or this other thing that's pretty close to wine. But not fermented. How cool is that? You don't even have to ferment it.
Right.
You have to cure it, but I guess it's close to the same thing. Here's this thing that can put you to sleep in about a half hour and make you feel good, right? And then in between all of these, there's this other CBD thing that is non-psychoactive that just so happens to appear as if it's the cure to everything that there's a medicine for.
Yeah.
That's not available, right? And you're like...
But that's freaking people out, especially in large money-making establishment that is, pharmaceuticals and everything along that nature, that here's been this plant that's been around for freaking ever, that people have been utilizing for forever, that for certain reasons isn't available in every market because of this stigma that's put onto it, or this simplistic way to view the word drugs in itself is just a problem in itself if you want to go that far with it. But here's this plant that, like you said, can aid in a lot of things that humans are need ailment from.
Yeah, and it's abundant, easy to grow. Yeah, it has a fast flowering cycle, right? Like
but if you don't have a medical card and you have a little bit on you, your freedom can be taken away.
Well, and then even further, if you do have a medical card and you're in the wrong context, they can pull a technicality that it's not federally. It's like they can't take your credit card at the dispensary because it's federal fund, and it's like,
which was a big problem for those companies. They can't accept credit card payments.
Oh,
the cash they have to carry around is like, God damn. You know, scary in itself.
Yeah, no, it's well, I mean, then to talk about internet marketing. So my buddy, his Instagram for his different companies had 10,000, 20,000 followers, just gone, deleted because of policy violation or whatever like that.
Because of cannabis or what he sells?
Well, you have to specify not for sale. Not this, not that. You have to really, really specify, right?
Okay.
So they give them heck. And I started a CBD company a couple years ago with a friend, and just to find a vendor, I don't even think he's collecting online sales yet. It's all bulk wholesale. Like it's just to find someone to process the orders is almost impossible, right? And that's CBD in the legal sense from hemp, not cannabis.
Right. No psychoactive, the illegal substance, the Schedule I substance.
Yeah. And I don't know about, its uses for paper or anything like that. I just know like
it's huge.
If people understood cannabinoids, and it's terpenes or terpenes, so I'm going to say terpenes. Yeah. But if people understood cannabinoids and terpenes and what combination was good for them that didn't make them feel couch lock, or when they feel anxiety start to onset, they can stop it in its tracks. Maybe not reverse it. So then you're looking at like, an actual drug like a Xanax or something to reverse a chemical flow, whereas something like cannabis, a kind of natural remedy, can help to slow it down. It's not trying to change your biology
synthetically,
force things in the opposite direction. It's just trying to go like, hey, just loosen this cap up a little bit. We're just gonna loosen this up. All right, there you go. But then even like different kind of psychoactive substances like psychopsilocybin in mushrooms.
Psilocybin.
Like it is. I mean, it's to not have a human life or experience where there's some sort of psychedelic that's brought your way, whether it's from a tea or a flower, just as a human out, or you eat the wrong berry or whatever.
Right.
To have, whether it be cannabis where just the sound is amplified, and things slow down or whatever, where you can listen and tune it. Music sounds better. Right. Everybody knows that, right?
Food tastes better. The wind outside tastes better.
then and I guess people can get that in some natural way,
Sure.
but something like a mushroom or psilocybin, or like the insight that your brain gets into the rest of being,
Yeah.
even if it's not a part of this fabric, it's still a compartment or a department within your brain head.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like the thing that I realized instantly, or my kind of big realization, was like the mushrooms are the only plants they're not plants, they breathe oxygen.
Yeah.
Those
They're
things-
alive. They're alive. Yeah.
They're alive.
Yeah.
And if you consume them or whatever, they're like, they know what you're about to do.
Yeah.
They know what you are doing.
Yeah.
And they don't care about you. They know what you are doing.
Yeah.
And it is almost your responsibility. This sounds crazy, to consume them and to put them back.
Yeah.
Right? As if it's been done millions of times before, again and again and again. Like,
Interesting.
yeah, and I got the impression once you consume them that you are, sounds crazy, able to kind of communicate with them, with the fungus, in the sense that they're like I just remember grabbing what I had, and after the first couple times, but then, a few days later or whatever, grabbing what I had, and when it was in my hand, just feeling like this is a serious experience.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a joke.
Right.
Or you may laugh and giggle or whatever, but it's like you could feel the plant, not so much like cannabis, but you could feel the plant telling you like almost like I don't want to say like a seduction. I don't want to say sexual, but you can almost feel a thing going on where,
a strange connection to something that you wouldn't think you'd have a connection to if you just thought about it.
It's more like a human being than anything else. It's almost the closest human thing. Like
they've been around a lot.
Mushrooms.
Yeah. They've been around a lot longer than human beings ever have. You good on time? You all right?
Yeah, no, I'm good. Closer than maybe to monkeys or whatever. Like if you look at the fungus and the way it communicates and the network and the fabric and everything, you're like, oh my God, I'm a mushroom, right? And you go like, what is the flesh? The mushroom wasn't burdened with the flesh, right? The mushroom is the fungus, right? And it breathes oxygen. It has network.
That survived Ice Age, that survived water all over the place, things that other species couldn't survive. This one's been here.
So what is the burden of the flesh? That biblical reference, the flesh, like I obviously have it. Oh my gosh. Like this.
The burden of the flesh. I forgot about that.
Well, I mean, it's kind of, like, wow.
Yeah.
And you kind of feel like, with the mushrooms or however, it's just kind of like there's no user manual for your body. Like, what do you put in this thing? We figured water out, right? But what other stuff do you put in here, and how much do you put in?
Yeah.
And what am I supposed to look at, on the way out? Like, and how do I gauge that? Like, can someone please tell me what to put in here?
Right.
Right? Like, what kind of information or temperatures? Like, just having, like, I'll have it either super hot or super cold in here, just with the windows open, just to kind of get back to, dude, you're not supposed to be able to set yourself at 77 or 70 degrees every single day. You think you're making your body sick?
We used to not have houses, man.
Yeah, like, it was, I went and watched, this football game, and I sat in the rain, and it was miserable sitting in the rain. It was pouring down, like it's pouring
Just
down.
started here, yeah.
But I sat there for, a half hour, and I watched the game, and I was like, dude, you can sit in the rain for a half hour.
Yeah.
Like,
I love the rain, man. Another one of those things that it's just, connects you to a different feeling that I wish more people could feel of just nature in itself.
How is there water falling from the sky?
And it happens a lot.
I don't care clouds. I understand the cloud thing.
Yeah.
But how is there water falling from the sky?
Something that everything needs to live, basically.
And it's falling from the sky.
For free.
Dude, like, I look at these things, and one thing I've been kind of tripping myself out with lately, where does wind come from? Right? Nobody knows. But have you ever seen trees. See the way that the trees are moving right now in the wind. I am maybe playing with the idea that the plants move like this, and it causes. I mean, sure you can negate or whatever, but the plants are actually moving like that. Like you're looking at the plants and the trees, going, "Oh, the wind is blowing them."
Yeah.
But dude, you have totally taken off your ability to look at the world as a child, and now look at the plants and look at it as if the plants are moving and they're causing wind. Oh my God, these like that tree out there, that oak tree. You think that oak tree is just still all the time? It's just a big old dumb tree? No, he's alive right now. Mr. Tree is wiggling around.
Yeah.
Mr. Tree is super happy.
Let alone what's happening underground that you can't even see.
Oh my gosh! And so this movement of the plants is not by the wind, but it's the plants moving it, causing the wind.
Interesting.
So that may be obviously wrong.
Yeah.
Science proves whatever, but
I'm not a meteorologist, so I'll roll with it.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know rocket appliances.
That's not my space.
Yeah, but let me look at the world, because paradoxes do exist.
Right.
And the whole point of a paradox is that your regular faculties for looking at a thing don't work here. So it doesn't seem real. It's a paradox. Well, let me look at the world through this lens of the plants. The plants make the wind because they move around and wiggle. Now, what does the world look like to me when I'm walking outside? I go, "Hey, Mr. Hawk."
Yeah.
Mr. Hawk follows me, it seems.
Yeah.
Right? I go around, keeps an eye on me. "Hey, Mr. Lizard. Hey, guys, can we..." The roaches are gone in this Florida home.
Because you asked them to take care of those for you.
The lizards, right?
Yeah.
I talk to my dog, right? Water falls from the sky.
Yeah.
It's the most important thing. What does the world look like to me? Right? And why... I can go down that other thing, but what does the world look like to me if that's how I'm looking at everything? What a magical and special world. And I'll very briefly say it. I look at the moon.
Yeah.
What is that?
Dude.
What is that in the sky that makes light at night?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Is that thing transparent?
Yeah. And it controls the tides in our ocean. Like, come on, man. That's one being a lifelong 25 years surfing. Just tracking the moon cycles and what it does to the ocean and tides and shit like that, man. It's just like every time I see it.
What is that thing floating up there, right? And then they have this other thing up there, this big fireball.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, would you believe me if I told you there's a giant fireball outside?
In space?
And you can feel it?
Yeah.
Well, so me personally, there's a story behind it. But now, and I don't know why, people get kind of antsy. I don't believe in outer space anymore. And I can explain that, right, without trying to, conspirify it. But
conspirify.
But that's part of all this stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas I grew up, the only thing that really gave me anxiety, true anxiety, was outer space. Because I'm like, what is this limitless thing with no end, and where did it come from, and look how small, and I'll never get there, and be an astronaut to do whatever. And you create this whole big kind of infinite nothing, right? And then you kind of learn to fear the nothing, right?
Sure.
But here's a little thing I realized is that, what color is it behind your head? It's not black. It's not black. It's nothing. You stare into the abyss every day. You're staring into it right now when you try and see that. It's nothing. You're totally comfortable in the abyss, in absolute nothingness. You don't even care about time or space back here. This is nothing.
No.
And you're not missing a color. It's not black. It's nothing. Right? And so kind of this mixture, I'm looking at the moon, I'm looking at the sun, and they're the same size, obviously. I'm standing right here. They're the same size. I can see it. It's the same size.
Yeah.
And they appear to be exactly the same distance away. Okay, and if I look way over there and I look way over there, it seems that there's a big dome over the world. Okay, I can see, I'm looking at that. And then I go up in an airplane, or I go up on a mountain, and I'm not seeing a curve, right? I don't know how much I can see or whatever, but I'm kind of looking around, and I'm looking at this world, and I'm like, hold on a second here. Yeah. Is that even real? I'm not even going to get into about, whatever, moon landing or whatever.
Yeah.
But just as a human being, I'm looking at what I can see.
Right.
And it looks like there's this beautiful grass and stuff, and the water falls down from up there. There seems to be a dome over everything. There's this glass ball that lights up at nighttime. That the light is colder from the moonlight than it is in the shade. That's weird.
Yeah.
And then there's this fireball, right?
That also gives everything
That
life.
also gives everything, right? And I'm kind of this other stuff, space, or I don't even care. Like, this is pretty neat, right? And then what is this ocean thing?
Yeah,
bro?
man.
What is that? What's down there? What is down there?
Yeah.
Right? And what is all out there? Like we know about all of the land that's available. Like it's an Atlas Shrugged. Like obviously you're gonna keep, in Antarctica. What's up with Antarctica? You got Admiral Byrd. These people saying it's this vast, with all this green life. It's more beautiful and lush than North America, and it goes on and on and on. And no one's allowed to go there ever. And it's the only place in the world where every country has a peace treaty. Oh, how come nobody around here was asking about Antarctica?
Yeah.
Oh, guys.
You can't go to Antarctica?
No, you can go to visit on the edge, but you can't. General public can't go to Antarctica.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
Right. But no, just my point of all that, whether is that you agree, not you, but if someone agrees or sees my perspective or not, just imagine how much differently the world looks after you get sick of all of this garbage, right? The rat race and all this stuff, and everything is just what it is. Imagine how the world looks to me now, and I didn't even do anything different, but just say, what if the trees are the ones moving the wind, right? And then
just by that one question.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And now the world to me is, I was talking about setting up G.I. Joes, now I can sit down in the dirt again and sit down by the tree and see the playtime. Not like my memory, but I can sit down again and look and see a whole G.I. Joe base around this root system. And I can sit there and it smells the same. The dirt it's not just dirt, it's stuff to build a fort with or whatever. So at least now again I can go outside and I can sit down and I can I can play, right? And
I think that's something that's where I'm at with all this fishing, man. Seriously, it's my way of getting back to something I stopped doing when I was probably 12 or 13 because I got into other things, and then it started chasing money and all those other stuff I was just talking about. But getting back to all this fishing puts me back into that state of play as a kid, and honestly, just the mental challenge side, similar to jiu-jitsu, is it's hard. It's hard from an artificial or even just finding big fish standpoint, but it gets me back to this point of, man, I feel like a kid again. And to me, it's the happiest I've ever been. No matter how much money you're making or whatever that case may be, that never filled what I get now by not chasing that, by not going after all that stuff. And you talked about people's perspectives. It's interesting hearing from why I want to do this podcast is I'm learning the perspectives of others and trying to share it in whatever way that looks like, because it's fascinating. It's fascinating how your view of the world, there's a lot of similarities, but we've come from different places. Yeah. And you can go down the list, the guys you met on the airplane, people that have different perspectives. It's an interesting way to view the world.
Like, if I could squeeze in one story of my favorite kind of person I ever met, most meaningful. So I was in Dubai, and I'm staying in a nice hotel across from the Burj Khalifa. Everything is paid for. I'm there for 2 weeks. I'm going to visit my big brother in my fraternity. We had a falling out in Hollywood. He's like, come to Dubai for a couple weeks. I'll help you with your business, and I'll help you get to the next level, which he did, right? But anyway, I'm there, and, it's kind of a day for me, and I decide to go get my hair cut. And I go in this barbershop in the hotel, and it's a very young, cool guy. He's probably his mid-20s. He's dressed very well. As the two women in there to help him are very sharp as well. But this he's a cool guy. And he's appears to be Middle Eastern to me, or, my best guess. And he starts cutting my hair, and he starts talking to me about Lebanon. I'm like, oh, where are you from? He goes, oh, Lebanon. I'm like, oh, that's cool, man. I was like, my buddy, guy I made friends with out there, he was just showing me this documentary that he films on Lebanon. Like, I would love to go snowboarding there. Like, it looked like the mountains is, he goes, oh, voila, voila, it's amazing, voila. Blah, 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 the mountains and voila, voila, right? And he's telling me all this stuff, and I said, hey, what does voila mean? He goes, voila, Allah, right? And I was like, yeah, I do. And all around here, all of my traditional growing up in churches is, tell them this story, tell them that's wrong, tell them, well, but here I am on the other side of the world. This guy's cutting my hair. He's doing his trade. We're having a great conversation. We're talking about something that's beautiful that both gets excited. And he goes, yeah, God, you know who God who made it? And I'm like, this is a yes or no question. This guy's asking me, do I love God? Yes or no? Do I know? And I was like, yeah, man. And he goes, well, Wallah means I swear to God. So he's saying, I swear to God, it's amazing. I swear to God, it's beautiful. I swear to God, right? And you're like, dang, where I'm from, if people talk like that, they'd be like, easy on your religion. Kind of back off. And here, like, he's validating his point by saying, he's by working that in. That was the big moment where I realized that I don't know anything, right? I don't know. I don't have any, I have very little understanding. Yeah. And the world is like, and then to Rabbi Levy, we'll go back to the beginning where I told you Jew, Christian. Well, obviously, an Orthodox rabbi is going to know kind of the rules or whatever. And here, Rabbi Levy and me, Christian, talking about how much we love God, right? And it doesn't matter his whatever. It's just that there's and he just had a lesson the other day. There's a difference between saying, oh, I know about the religion stuff or whatever, and then having a certain knowledge that God is real, right? It has a certain peace that it's not a faith thing, but it's a certain kind of, well, you do things different, right? And that's what I was trying to say about Jewish people, Orthodox, that is that they have in their history, they have everyone that was important to them in their family was together, and they all heard the voice of God at the same time. Now, whether or not your beliefs or whatever, if in your family that is passed down, and to the degree that you are doing all these activities because that happened, you and your history of your people have a burden that these people don't have, and these people don't have, and these. Imagine if you and your family of 300 or whatever actually did hear the voice of God, or actually did see a pillar of smoke follow them or whatever. No. You would have a burden like no other. You'd be like, look, I know you think we're weird, you think we're this, we're that, whatever. I don't care what you think, because I know what I got to do. Right. Like, I know, like, I ain't doing this for fun, right? Like, and so then to kind of travel and see, oh, I'm in Dubai. They've got Christmas decorations for sale on the front of all the grocery stores. This guy's telling me, oh, Allah. Obviously, I've never even said that word, right? Yeah. And he's like, yeah, you know him? And like the answer is not like, you better if you're not infidel, right? Like you see on TV, right? And here I'm talking to this other rabbi, and everything you hear is this, and I'm like, gee, these are my best friends and life experiences are. I was in Dubai, and you hear the call to prayer, right? And it happens like 6 or 7 times a day, I think. The first one is, I think, at dawn or before dawn or something. But you're like, all right, what are they saying? Like, what is it? I hear all this singing, but what is it saying? And you read it, you're like, wake up. It's better to get out of bed and be thankful to God than it is to sleep in. And you're like, it's kind of hard for me to be mad at them. Sure. Especially if it's kind of built into their culture. But then what he's saying, like...
But it was built into you that a thought of, I should try to change this person? Or like, I should try to preach a little bit of what was taught to me.
Versus going like, wow, these people over here
have a different way of looking at it.
Wake up. It's better to praise God than it is to sleep. Yeah. Come on, get up. It's got another day.
You mentioned something that I'm increasingly becoming aware of, is that I don't think anybody really has these answers that everyone's looking for. the rabbi is the way he is, maybe because that's where in the circumstance he was born, the circumstance where he grew up. The people in Dubai, that's their circumstance. The way you are, the way I am, you're that old phrase of a product of your environment is a real friggin' thing, And to me, I'm becoming increasingly more aware that nobody has the answers. I don't think.
Well,
that's why it's more important your own little universe, your own little world, trying to make that the best you can seems to be, in my opinion, the better way to go.
Well, it's kind of built into the refutation. It's kind of built into each one. So the Muslim or Arab religion, however you want to say it, is desert-based geography in their stories. The Christian Jewish text is Mediterranean-based. Like every major religion that has emerged, even Mormons, it's like
multiple wives,
North American based. I'm talking about the geographic area.
Yeah.
Every kind of emerging popular sect of religion has a geographic area that all the stories are tied to.
Right.
So all the stories are kind of built around that, and then you take a step back from there, and you go, okay, wait a second here. What you said. I think it's more, because then, I can't even talk like this as part of my faith, because then it's blasphemous to even consider, we don't have the full picture. But man, the more that I age and mature, the less religion becomes about, hey, what religion are you? Or what's your religion, or this or that. The more it gets away from that and it goes towards, I have a life and I'm a human being. I wonder, if this, right? And I wonder, as a man or as a woman or as an adult, like, what's going on here with this stuff? What is, maybe being missed or covered up, or the point, or, so the pursuit doesn't become, hey, I want to be the best at this or prove that I'm faithful. It becomes, man, I am really open to God. I'm open. I'm open to you, God. Like, even like, to the degree of like, maybe I got this wrong, right? But however it is.
But some people don't have that thought of this could be wrong. They have the other thought of this is the only way. This is the only way. Yeah.
Well, it was being on the other side of the world and having being like, dude, I don't know much and I can't speak for very many things, but I think I can take a gamble in my life and say that we're supposed to get along.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're supposed to get along and smile at each other.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
being a good person. That's what I try to tell my kids. Be a good person because you should want to be a good person, not because there's this fear of repercussion after you die.
Yeah.
Be a good person because you should want to be a good person, because we're all just humans. We're all lucky to be here. And shit, man, it could be taken away like that. And it happens every second of every day, man.
The irony about all of it is, well, not irony, but, I guess what very few people would want to admit is that no matter how much you try or this or that, and it also covers mistakes you've made, like, in your heart or in your soul or your spirit, whether or not you actually do believe something or you're just trying to do whatever. And it's funny, if all of this was made real, all of your whole entire argument for why you're a good person would evaporate in just the tiniest quarter millisecond of the realness of realizing, like, I genuinely did not take that seriously, versus going like, I'm a mess.
Yeah.
I'm a mess.
Yeah.
But I love being alive.
But I'm working on it. In whatever
maybe I'm
way
not
that
working
looks.
on it. Maybe I don't feel bad about not working on it. That's what I was saying. Is like, I'm always working on something.
Sure.
Maybe I'm not working on it.
Interesting.
Right? But I'm open and I'm a mess or whatever. And,
that's part of being a human.
But I mean, that's part of being honest.
Yeah.
Right? And
which is hard for people.
Yeah, man. I don't think it's a great judgment whether or not how many good things or bad things you did. I think anybody knows whether or not they're being honest.
Yeah.
Right? And even if there's a spectrum, if you're being honest, I woke up late.
Yeah.
You should have here knocking on the door. Forgot about everything. And, you know, I was just honest.
Yeah.
Hey, man.
Dude,
Right?
I much prefer it again, and I talk about this a lot, but coming from a world where people, not everybody, but the ones where it became obvious that people weren't honest, you know, it just stuck with you. Like, shit, like, why? You don't have to be that way. Like, just be truthful to yourself, be truthful to everyone. You don't have to be that way, man. It's in my opinion, it's a better way to go. You can't keep up. Most people can't keep up with the lies they tell themselves, man. You know, like they can't keep up with the lies they keep feeding them themselves.
No, so. And then some people get in a point to where it's either you or me, because if I let it be me, then this other person's relying on me, and I'm gonna fall apart for them. So you're gonna have to self-destruct, not me.
Yeah.
And it's, man, people go to war, man. Yeah, that's why I say, like, we need to just fight more, so we don't do so many
real fighting.
Yeah,
so you don't realize what this fake fighting and back and forth that people do.
Language is such a cruel tool, dude. You, like, how much mischief do people have access to without such a developed, you know, set of language? Like, what is it, a dirty look or whatever? Can you even get the idea of jealousy without words? Like, it's just like life it's funny, man. Everything is so meaningful and so complex, and all of it means absolutely nothing at the same time.
But that's a hard realization to come to.
That's the expert level stuff, though.
That's next level.
You know, like, to make your own video game, to make your own pursuit, to work on yourself, you know, and even to leave a legacy in such a way. Look, man, like, I know, like, I'm not stupid, or maybe I'm stupid, but look, I know that if I say a kind word to somebody or smile at somebody or do a good deed, like, that's going to have a butterfly effect for generations.
For sure. You remember the hug that Joe Rogan gave you. The hug. He didn't give you his watch. He didn't give you some of these things he's doing now. The dude gave you a hug.
And I just passed it on to you.
Yeah.
I don't say, I'm not speaking for you, but the endorphins you got when you're hearing that story.
For sure.
Right? And I passed that on to you.
Yeah.
Right? And so, you know,
it didn't cost anything.
No. And you could pass it on to somebody else and they could hear it. Exactly. Yeah. Right? And, you know, those things stack up, man.
For sure.
That's a legacy. Like, you know, who cares? They tear statues down, dude.
Yeah, man.
They change history when, you know, someone dies, they'll rewrite it different, or, you know, all that stuff, dude. But, you know, if there is a circle of life, you know, and there is an essence to things, that energy behind, you know, whatever is that electrical impulse that stored that idea and passed it along and used it to go whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that electricity ain't going nowhere.
Nah, man.
Yeah, it ain't going.
Yeah.
You know, it's.
Well, listen, man. This went in a lot of different directions, but I enjoyed this.
I hope it was all right,
dude. I hope it was all right. I hope it was all right for you.
I bared my soul.
Yeah, I try not to come into these kind of things with any preconceived anything, man. You and I have never had a conversation other than 15 minutes on the phone.
Yeah.
And now we've been sitting here talking for I don't even know how long it's been.
How long it was.
Yeah, a rare thing, but something that I think at least it seems that people are enjoying right now in terms of, especially coming out of COVID and all this stuff where people couldn't do. I know it's still going on, you know, and it is. You know, I didn't mean to say that it isn't still happening. I think there's a risk that some are willing to take, and I'll put myself in this situation. You know, if I'm trying to change careers and do this, you know, not to make millions of dollars, but just to not have to go back to the fake life I was living, right? Yeah. That I'm going to take a little bit of risk in that sense of meeting people and trying to do this thing, but. I really appreciate your time, man. This went in a like I said, in a different direction than if I would have sat down and thought about it. But I think it went in a better direction at the end of the day because I think we were both sitting here just being truthful with each other.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Yeah.
Can't get any more than that, man. And I appreciate it too.
Absolutely, man. Anything else that you'd want to say, or where can people find you, or?
Well, I mean, you can find me, you know, online. You know, I've got my company and music and all those things, and that's all well and good. But I would just want to say something about you, brother, if I can.
Sure.
When I met you, you said something along. So I'm in the chamber, and I'm a young salesman, and I'm looking for deals, and, you know, who can I work with? And I remember you told me, you said. Almost, I may get it wrong, but you said almost exactly. You said, Mike, don't discount me. I know that I can't offer you any business. I may be able to I can get you some discounts on some supplies or whatever, but you're like, listen, don't discount me. I don't know exactly how I can help you, but I know that I can help you. So don't forget about me and all these people that you're dealing with. And it may not have been exactly that, but you did say something like that to me, to where you're like, look, don't look past me. I'm something special. And man, indeed you are.
Yeah.
Here you are, almost, nearly 10 years later. And man, you're doing something that I'm proud of. You're doing a heck of a job doing it. And I don't even know how to say, like, you look through all the life, and you looked at me as another person. You said, hey man, I'm going to help you. Even if you don't see it, hang in there. And here you are, dude. Couldn't be anything cooler, more fun. Like, I can get momentum for this, but I just wanted to tell you, is congratulations and heck yeah, and proud of you. But man, I really genuinely, in a non-jealous way, admire where you've taken it, what you're willing to do, what your word ended up meaning. Like it, man, I appreciate you, bro.
Wow, I appreciate that, man. That's awesome. Well, like I said, man, thank you. And if you ever want to do this again, we can do this again.
Maybe I'll flip it on you.
There you go.
Anyway.
Cool. All right, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's COVID friendly right there.